hi. Hello, everyone. Hello and hi. I'm going to be starting in just a couple minutes now. This is your hot drink warning. Make that cup of tea, that cup of coffee, a lovely mug of hot chocolate. Make it now. And we're going to be starting in just a couple of minutes. Hello, 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 and hello, and welcome to the stream, and hi, and hello, and thank you to Valerie Valkyrie for donating £3, no message, kicking off the first stream of June the right way. Hell yeah, we love to see it. It's Pride Month, it's my birthday month, it's pay me month. Sorry, that's every month, this is my job. But I'm really excited to be back on the stream because a lot's been happening, both here on the estate with the estate organizing, and in the wider world, and in the world of liberal slop. I think we've got quite a fun stream ahead of us today. Hello and welcome to Ro the Fair Thing Lion, Wendy Pixel Curatrix, Valerie the Lovely Italian, Valerie Valkyrie, Vulpix989, Princess Beck Knight 666, lovely to have you here as always, Sleepy Bees in Love, Cherry Pitspit, and that's it for now. But if you're hanging out and you want to say hi in the chat to claim your free hello and acknowledgement from me right now. And hello to the VOD watchers as well, of course. I just wanted to quickly let everyone know about my birthday GoFundMe, where I'm collecting towards being able to have my holiday to New Zealand and see where I was born. I finally actually made that, and so now you can donate to it. VOD watchers. So VOD watchers, there's gonna be a link to this as well as the regular link tree down below. And what I would most of all desire from VOD watchers is birthday holiday, birthday trip money. But yeah, how's everyone been? It's been a couple of weeks. A bunch of stuff has happened. Let's catch up on the chat. Please tell me about how you're all doing. Rose says cold and eepy, but want to catch at least some stream. Oh, sweetie, I hope you're okay. Happy Friday, Slopsters. Cherry Pitspit says, I'd like to apologize on behalf of my country for Rutger Bregman. Yes, we will be talking about Rutger Bregman. He's actually going to be a part of the main feature of today. It's a terrible time. His terrible take is a terrible time. I try to keep my anti-Dutch sentiments and feelings that I hold deep within my soul, I would say, to only where it's appropriate, and then I see the excessively Dutch behavior of someone like Rutger Bregman, and it becomes a challenge. Anyway, Cherry Pittsburgh, you are, a contrite Dutch, and therefore, earning of some sympathy. Princess Becknight says it's always appropriate to hate the Dutch. That's. See, this is me keeping it in check. It's sometimes appropriate to hate some Dutch. Many, you could say. Many Dutch. Many Dutch. Banker with a W, welcome to the stream. Lovely to have you here. As a Belgian, I support all anti-Dutch sentiment. Now, no, hang on now. It's crucial not to hate the Dutch in a European sibling rivalry, old-fashioned medieval Europe way, okay? We're not giving in to just suddenly turning into like Habsburgs or some shit. It's specifically the Dutch for inventing colonialism, capitalism, and apartheid. This is okay. I can't keep with the bit forever because, like, obviously, the British could be handed an infinitely long bill of crimes, and the Banker with a W says, and being Protestants, that is pretty bad. That is one of that. No, okay. Okay. I'm not gonna stick with this bit. We have serious matters to attend to, and it is not Rutger Bregman's Dutchness that actually makes his take so bad, is it? Is it really, realistically? Lorcan has been a moderator for 4 years and says, I'm celebrating my 4-year mod anniversary. It should be longer, but that must have been the last time I was demodded for bullshit. Lorcan has been a mod since basically forever, so thank you for subscribing with Prime. Lorcan has subscribed for 60 months. That's incredible. Okay. No, it's not Rutger Bregman being Dutch that makes his take so terrible. It's him having a terrible cage around his mind called liberalism. If people aren't familiar with Rutger Bregman, he wrote a book called Utopia for Realists, which really pissed me off as soon as I read it, the first time I read it. And it sort of rocketed him onto the public stage, and then he also had this interview with Tucker Carlson where he said, you're a millionaire whose job it is to defend billionaires, and a bunch of people were like, whoa, holy shit, a leftist, oh my god. Then he since then has never failed to disappoint. So really, just incredible stuff. Little Toasty X, thank you for subscribing. You've subscribed at tier 1 for 6 months in advance. That's really, really lovely. Volpix989 said, are you sure? Because I took out my electron microscope to examine Rutger Bregman's article and found an outsized quantity of Dutch particles. All Europeans are unfortunately forever irradiated by the outburst of colonizer particles, forever and ever. No, we all know here it's the working class of any nation are not responsible for the vile actions of their ruling class, and where we have some kind of ties to historic injustice, all we can do is work to address it. There was a stupid thing in an organizing context. This is long enough ago now that I feel happy to share about it, but like someone trying to arrange a screening of the Palestine action film when it was like they were about to be prescribed and it was like going to become very illegal to screen the film, and they were going to screen it at this particular venue, and then they found out that there was an anti-Zionist Israeli guy involved in like the management of the venue. Like he's a guy who just basically like is non-stop trying to be as anti-Zionist as possible to fight against the society that he grew up in, the deeply fucked and fascist society that he grew up in. And some leftists I sort of like know by like 3 degrees of separation were like, I'm not sure we can be using this venue because there's an Israeli guy connected to it, and it's just like, how much does a guy have to do? Like, Anyway. that is so much more than enough rambling. Here's my update on the estate. Things are going really, really well. That's the first thing I want to say. So I think the last time, if I just look at my calendar, the last time I streamed was in the week of complete, or at the end of the week of complete insanity, where we were trying to get everyone to have filed all of their tribunal forms. So that, Ro, thank you so much for the £2 donation with the message. Currently obsessed with a lesbian violinist rabbit, bondage fursuiter called Felony Rabbit. You need to see her. You need to see her play with. You need to see her play without being able to see all 6 nips out sometimes. What are you talking about? This is such an insane donation message. Thank you. You've enriched the stream, both with the £2 and with Felony Rabbit. So everyone who's interested, there you go. Thank you, Ro. Estate update. So, extremely funny thing has happened, and I will not go into like all the details. I'm just gonna. In response, Rose said, "Just find her." Hey, Vaudrella, lovely to have you here. Welcome to the stream. So, extremely funny thing has happened, and all of the direct evictions that the landlord has issued to my neighbors might be provably invalid. We're anticipating that being like as just like stone cold evil as they have been so far, if the Section 21s get invalidated, the landlord may issue the other kind of eviction notice, which is called a Section 8. So it has specific grounds that it has to be issued on. But they may push. They may push to try to use those against people once we invalidate them. But I think that like we're making really cool progress with the organizing. We've had meetings with the council since last time I was talking about the estate stuff. The council are looking to bring in something called an Article 4 direction. An Article 4 direction like protects local character, so it's like it would stop them from being able to do the kind of conversions to like super cramped 8-unit HMO buildings that they're trying to do. That's the reason that they're using eviction notices directly, right? So to recap for people, if there's anyone here who doesn't know what I'm talking about, I've gotten like way too deep in, way too fast. If you don't know at all what I'm talking about, on my estate at the moment, and by estate I mean parcel of land that I live on in London that has been managed collectively by different like corporate landlords since its creation. It's like 200 homes, a bunch of families, and we received dozens of eviction notices and well over 100 more, but like rent increases. And so like originally I posted about this and I shared to my Patreon about like the situation that me and Abby are in, which is that we had this £200 rent increase, which is obviously like no one has an extra £200 just sitting around in their monthly budget to just completely eat a change like that. And then we found out that our change was the like just about the smallest, like one of the absolute smallest increases that anyone had across the estate, because there are a lot of people here who've been here for a really long time. They've had like a good relationship with the like prior or original landlords who gave them like particularly kind things, particularly kind contracts, and so like their increases to the same number, if it's for the same unit, there's too many details here, but like that some people were facing up to a £900 a month increase, and a whole bunch of people who've just been given Section 21 eviction notices, and this like property owner, developer, landlord company, their plan with houses that they vacate is to turn them to HMOs, houses of multiple occupation, I think, multiple occupancy, just basically meaning like turning it into something like a block of incredibly tiny flats with like a shared kitchen area, like just a hyper cramped living basically. And in response to this, you can read about all of this on my Patreon, by the way. I made a fairly detailed post on there talking about it because it's been the like one of the main things occupying my brain space recently. However, I did finish my Ezra Klein essay, so if people want to read that, the text version is now available on Patreon too. It's a great time to be a Sophie from Mars patron. My next Monster Man is coming up soon next as well, and I'm going to film all 3 of the scripts I've got up there in a block. So, they're trying to evict tons of my neighbors, people who've lived in the same house for like 30 or more years. It's a really dire situation, and they're trying to do it to create like really nasty, cramped housing. And my partner and I have done an enormous amount of organizing, and more neighbors have joined in over time, and we're getting some like really like powerful stuff done. I'm feeling really proud of us. We have, so I think the when I was last streaming, Friday 20, what would that have been? Friday 29th. We had just finished like the biggest part of what I'm calling phase 1, or what my partner and I have been calling phase 1, because phase 1 is just like we have to respond to this like crisis that our neighbors have been put in, right? Like we are essentially doing first aid on the community, right? Like there are a bunch of empty houses now. There's all this building works going on, but there's a bunch of people who have eviction notices and they're scared. And so then we organize, ad break in 5 minutes. Okay. So we organize to do the things that we need to stop these evictions, and we organize against these rent increases. And so last time I was streaming, we just finished this week of getting dozens of people to fill in this form to go to rent tribunal to challenge the rent increase, the situation that I'm in. And, pardon me, that was the first biggest hurdle in this like phase 1, like responding to the situation. We also like formed a tenants association. We've been reaching out to contacts through like our local councillor and the council, but also like independent campaigners coming by, also like London Renters Union. And so we've been bringing the whole estate together with like waves of door knocking, big meetings, strategy meetings, paperworking sessions to get people to fill in these forms that they need to. And now that we've gotten the bulk of people through to the waiting list for a rent tribunal, that buys a bunch of time where the rent increases will not be valid and they don't have to pay more money. And then we will phase 2 is taking the fight to them, like as much as we can, basically, just like the absolute maximum enforcement against them that we can bring, as much financial pain as we can cause. There's like licensing stuff that may have invalidated a whole bunch of these, or like potentially all of potentially all of the evictions, and B, like the same issue could mean that we are able to get our rent paid back to us. So it's an exciting time. Like they are greedy, they are stupid, and they are cruel. But just a perfect mix of all 3. So like their greed and their cruelty, it really hit us, and it's like a horrible situation to be in the first place. Their stupidity has been hitting us in waves, as we find out just what a bad job they've done of all of this. And yeah, phase 3, if we get to phase 3, will be a very special change in our situation, because if we defeat them, we have to think about what's next for this estate where there's a lot of elderly people, there's a lot of people who've lived here for a long time, there's also a large migrant community, there's a lot of disabled people, there's a lot of queer people actually as well. So like it's a community that has a lot of vulnerabilities, and this place really shouldn't be on the private rental market at all. And that's ultimately like the real finish line we're organizing towards and have been organizing towards since pretty early on. Okay, there you go. There's my estate update. It could be that their evictions are completely fucked, but also even if they have to go challenge them, it's going to take a very, very long time to do that. and also we're going to be bringing in this Article 4. If we bring the Article 4, they won't be able to do any more conversions. If they can't do any more conversions, their business model is just scuppered. Like, they just completely can't do the thing that they wanted to do at all, which would take away the point of doing the evictions, right? So, like, we've got a couple of different things coming on them at the same time. It's a funny time. I'm excited about it, and I think it's going to get funnier. So stay tuned to future streams for my updates on the organizing stuff, because it's getting more and more sick, actually. Basically, right. I've been streaming for 20 minutes now, so I think we should start the proper content of the stream today and start looking at some liberal slop. I want to do a bit of a whirlwind tour through some of the articles that I noticed just about the place, which are about AI this week, because there's a few things going around. One of those, I just realized I didn't actually queue up the archive so I can't actually read that. So I'll just tell you the headline of it instead. Okay, but I'm not going to do that right now. First thing I'm going to say, been streaming about 20 minutes so far, entering the cool zone. The conflict with the landlord is kind of entering the cool zone. Like, it's entering the zone of the more organized power we have, the bigger we win, and that is kind of the definition of the cool zone, right? Like, people, in a sense, right, the cool zone is defined by, like, this almost Hobbesian logic, but it's collectivist, like, where the more organized we are, the less exploitable we are, and the more we can fight back against people who are trying to do insane barbarism to the working class. And yeah, so, yeah. Okay. I wanted to say, I've been streaming for 20 minutes. If you've been enjoying the stream so far, and if you enjoy the content that we're about to get onto with Liberal Slop, please consider paying for the stream. You can subscribe, or cheer, or donate directly using command tip. If you subscribe, please be aware that if you have a Twitch account and it's linked to your Amazon Prime account, I'll say it the other way around. If you have a Prime account and it's linked to your Twitch account, you can give me a Prime sub for free. Doesn't cost you anything and does give me real money, so that's cool. If you want to donate, you can use command tip. That's !TIP in chat, and tip. Oh, it hasn't responded. Why hasn't it responded? Bot, why have you forsaken me? Oh, it worked this time. That's fine. Okay, speaking of bots, we are going to be looking at some AI stuff, culminating in Rutger Bregman's AI opinions. But first, I was, this week, maybe last weekend, made aware of a very special article that appeared in The Economist. And I think as soon as I saw it, as soon as some people who know me saw it, as soon as I'm sure some chatters saw it, if they saw it, people who regularly watch the VOD as well, as soon as anyone saw it who is aware of the Liberal Slop stream, it will have been apparent that this has to go on the Liberal Slop stream. It is by the guild of dark neoliberal wizards known as The Economist. We can't know who in particular, because The Economist doesn't credit their writers. But being so pro AI, maybe at this point they've just perfected their own robot king. They've got their own Economist GPT, and it just spews out this kind of filth. Either way, someone was proud enough of it that it was the front cover of The Economist last week. Okay, I've maybe done enough building up now. I hope so. And if you don't know, you're about to find out. If you don't know, you're about to know. Okay, one more time. If you've been enjoying the stream, if you enjoy the stream, please consider paying for the stream. Thank you. Okay, the article. How to fight back against Gen Z socialism. The me first doctrine is a threat to prosperity. This one is fucking incredible. All right. Something new is stirring on the left. It's already great. Prince Infidel, thank you for subscribing. 44 months of leftist anti-slop. That's right. Something new is stirring on the left. This is going to be one of these articles, by the way, that's like accidentally based economists. We're all going to just be cheering the entire way through the article if you just don't remember who's written it. A fresh crop of socialists want to remake the economy with price controls. Yes! Heavy wealth taxes. Yes! A spree of nationalizations. Yes! Supercharged by fury over Gaza, they are winning voters at a formidable pace. Yes! This is the best shit, dude. I don't know if Mule has seen this, by the way. If he hasn't, I need to make sure he does. But this is so funny. Hey, Artist Synth, it's lovely to have you here. Welcome in. Many rose to prominence only recently, like Zach Polanski, who leads the Green Party in Britain, or Zoran Mamdani, the mayor of New York. Others are long-standing political fixtures. The septuagenarian Jean-Luc Mélenchon is on his fourth swing at the French presidency, but thumping support for the 20-somethings of Generation Z has put the Élysée back in his sights again. Call it Gen Z socialism. Not because all its adherents are young, or because it's new for young people to lean leftward, but because it's the brand of leftism made for the TikTok era that today's young revolutionaries support. Yes! Forget weighty collectivist ideals or seizing the means of production. What? What are you talking about? Gen Z socialism is a me-first doctrine. Now, this we're gonna have some fun discussing, I think. Okay, like I've read this a couple of times through because it's a kind of fascinating thing they're doing here. But I love, firstly, when they start to acknowledge reality because it's gotten too threatening to them. Like, oh shit, a bunch of people are swinging like hard left. Like the liberal left is fucking gone. It's been annihilated. And a whole bunch of people are swinging hard left now. And then they try to make up some insane shit. But we'll get to it. Because one thing I'll just say ahead of time is, I partly agree. I do partly agree some people are winding up with a shallow understanding of leftism, an understanding of leftism that doesn't include anti-imperialist thoughts. But I also think that those people can get those thoughts. I don't think that's game over. I think those people can absolutely attain that. Anyway, okay. Climate change and race, preoccupations of the 2010s and early 2020s, are now much more peripheral concerns. I think it is concerning how much climate change has gone to a lot of people, to the back burner for a lot of people. Generally don't really agree about race. I just think that young people mobilizing around leftist ideals care enormously about borders and police violence. I just don't think that's true. So are social issues, barring Gaza, which again, just I don't know, any time now that liberal slop publications like The Economist put out something and acknowledge that people care about Gaza, it's just and why is that, right? Because there was a genocide that we all saw, and you were there denying it. Anyway, angst about inflation, housing, and artificial intelligence have replaced all that with something cruder. Again, disagree. Complicated. This country is awash in wealth. Based, says Avi Lewis, freshly elected leader of the New Democratic Party in Canada, a country where productivity has been all but flat for a decade. We can have nice things. It's just I could have been critiquing the same people from the left in an insanely more valid and cutting also way than what these people can achieve with economist GPT, because because you can make a treat of like sorry, you can make a treat. You can make a point of like Marxism, Leninism, treatsism. You can make a point of like anarcho treatsism and leftists in the imperial core who do not meaningfully challenge imperialism or understand their supply chains properly. Like, and to be clear, that critique is not just like boo, shame on you because you're in the imperial core. Like that's an insanely like flat, reductive, and unhelpful and unproductive way to approach the issue. But like, you can do that, and it's a lot more valid than just like just like trying to make shit up about Gen Z leftists. Like they actually just don't care at all about anything whatsoever. But they want socialism, but they don't care at all about anything. And it's just like, okay. Saying that prices should be capped to keep your bills down while someone else pays for your public services is a seductive, shareable message. I uncomplicatedly agree with this sentence from The Economist. I think we are entirely on the same page there. Plenty of the grievances that animate Gen Z socialists do stem from real issues. Inflation has been too high, rent in big cities is now often unaffordable, and AI could upend the labour market. Dismissing these worries would be foolish, yet Gen Z socialism is wrong about how to fix the problems of capitalism. It must be resisted because it is a profound threat to prosperity. Alright, so what we need to do here is get capitalism. It must be resisted because it is a profound threat to prosperity, right? And then you get a picture of Karl Marx next to it. And then you put it in quotes and you have The Economist. Capitalism. It must be resisted because it is a profound threat to prosperity. I've just realized that my stream goal for today says £800, which that's not even my monthly goal this month. The goal for today is 150. There we go. Okay, speaking of which, real quick, if everyone watching right now gave a bit under £5 each, if everyone watching right now did command tip and gave me £5 each, we would hit this goal immediately. Bear in mind that small donations still make a really big difference. What are we up to? Okay. No country's Gen Z socialists are quite alike. The realities of power have forced some, like Mr. Mamdani, to become more moderate. But they broadly agree on 3 core principles. This is interesting as well because it's like, again, like, people think that in all cases we like see different stuff to our like ideological enemies. No, we see the same shit. We have different morals a lot of the time, not different like sets of information. Not all disagreement is misinformation, right? Okay, they broadly agree on 3 core principles. First, that growth does little to help ordinary people. Why would they think that? What? Damn, dude, that's nuts. Why would they think that? I'm so surprised. I'm so surprised to see that young people feel like the line go up is not actually like good for anyone or doing anything good for ordinary people. Wow, what a crazy idea to think. Theirs is a zero-sum mindset where a better outcome comes not from creating, but from taking, as they fear AI barons will soon do on a vast scale. I feel so crazy reading The Economist break down the different like global classes of leftist versus against an idea of like Marxist doctrine, almost in a way that like Lenin does with the labor aristocracy, but from like The Economist's liberal, moderate, smug nonsense world. Like, also, I don't think that Gen Z socialists think that AI barons are going to, like, plunder the economy. I think broadly they feel that, like, the people who are already plundering the economy will plunder the economy further. Like, I don't think that they have the same belief in, like, AI as this world-changing, yeah, I think that's The Economist slightly projecting. Second, that spending can be paid for by the richest. Once the left wanted higher taxes for everyone, yes, and then they went up only for the poorest people, and rich people dodged all their fucking taxes, dude. Gen Z socialists demand handouts funded by billionaires. Based. The third tenet is a remarkable hostility to private enterprise. Based. It's just. Gen Z socialists are uninterested in letting the market rip and redistributing the proceeds. Are uninterested in... Hang on a second. They're uninterested in letting the market rip and redistributing the... They're uninterested... That doesn't scan, I'm sorry. They would have chunks of everyday life from housing to groceries governed by state diktat. Based. Fuck's sake. Okay, when we discuss this again, like properly in a second, we need to get to like an idea from Graeber, one of the core ones, one of the introductory ideas of Debt the First 5,000 Years. Even his critics, I haven't really seen them disagree with this point. The state and the market are not nearly as separate nor opposed forces they're presented as under capitalism. The state and the market were born into the world as one, essentially. They're in an implicitly codependent relationship, and we'll get to it, but they would have chunks of everyday life from housing to groceries governed by state diktat. Politics has always had zany fringes. The far right is no less balmy. What? It's just like, there are people on the far right who think like the far right has almost entirely absorbed the like lizard people conspiracy, right? Like QAnon involves in some cases belief in like elves. This is as insane as thinking that billionaires shouldn't exist and that we should tax them out of existence. The far right is no less balmy and more dangerous. But what is so worrying about the Gen Z socialists is how deeply their ideas are bleeding into the center left. Desperate to compete, even mainstream Democrats in America now propose mad schemes like exempting over half of tax filers from federal income tax. In Britain, the Labour Party, having won power on a centrist platform, has been spooked by the Greens and is rekindling its zeal for higher taxes and state control. Based. Increasingly, the ideas of Gen Z socialists can win even when their candidates lose. I'm overloading here. Like, that is bad news. I disagree. Big disagree. It's big disagree time. I was having big agree time with The Economist, and now I'm having big disagree time. Rent controls would worsen housing shortages by crushing the incentive to build. What a beautifully The Economist sentence. Rent controls would worsen housing shortages by crushing the incentive to build. Okay, so sometimes when I talk about something like UBI, right, there are proposals that I think, okay, I hear that policy, I'm like, I think that could only work with a particular policy environment around it. I need to hear what else you are proposing. When you say UBI, as if it's the whole thing, or like even really like a big enough change on its own, like implicitly that it's going to be good. It's going to be implicitly good immediately for some people if it was started tomorrow. And that's not how it's going to be brought into the world if it was brought into the world. And there are these kinds of policies where I'm like, I need to hear about a whole policy environment to convince this person that has a grasp on this thing. The Economist here is not talking about a policy that we would need to like think about really, really carefully, like loads of other policies around it to carefully balance it more than other like large-scale legal reforms. Rent controls and the incentive to build. There's a really obvious solution to this one, right? Which is the state wants there to be people living comfortably in houses So build more social housing. Oh, who'll pay for it? Check it out. I already have an answer to that in the previous rest of the entire article. Tax the rich. The people you're trying to oppose here already have the perfect answer to this. These three things, the rent controls, the incentive to build, and taxing the rich, they actually just fit together just fine. No more policies than that even needed. It's just entirely uncomplicated. The Economist thinks its readers are fucking idiots. The profit margins of big supermarket chains, demonized by Gen Z socialists, are already wafer thin after years of ruthless competition, a miracle of modern capitalism. Wealth taxes would become confiscatory and deter innovation. This should really be its own paragraph here, because we're now like, that's a weird jump. Anyway, quickly to talk about supermarkets though. The profit margins of big supermarket chains which are demonized by Gen Z socialists, are already wafer thin after years of ruthless competition, a miracle of modern capitalism. Right. Only modern capitalism could create effective and efficient supply chains for food. I don't I don't have the time on this stream or the prior research to like dive into the food chain of the UK. But for example, the UK and Big Tesco. People who know British people will be familiar with here. Will have heard about Big Tesco before. Big Tesco is like one of the main shareholders of the entire UK food supply chain. And like, it genuinely is a complex, impressive, quite, in some regards, quite efficient thing. One of the biggest obvious expenses, like redundant expenses, is all the executives. If it were under state control, it would be like, it would be cheaper to run. But I don't believe that the competition through capitalism has like made it as good as it can conceivably be, because what capitalism has brought the UK and Europe in the last couple decades is a complete collapse between the UK and its like largest sensible trading partner, as oligarchs have flooded far right money into the marketplace of ideas and like caused things like Brexit to happen, like severely damaging the trade relationships between the UK and Europe. That's an example of where capitalism has created people, wealthy capitalists, who have damaged the way that these networks can work towards their maximum efficiency. If the profit margins are wafer thin, that isn't the only consideration, right? It's not just about how much money is currently going to bosses. It's also about what else could be changed in like in a set of nations that had more centralized government, planned economy, solutions possible to them, instead of just relentless ideological, dogmatic market logic all the time. Wealth taxes would become confiscatory and deter innovation. I am cheering again for wealth taxes would become confiscatory. Yes, billionaires didn't earn that money. It's not like like I would be hard pressed to imagine someone could like earn £1 million. Like they can't earn £1 billion. There's not a. They should be confiscatory because they shouldn't have had that money in the first place. Deterring innovation. Do not assume that the failure of these policies, if implemented, would bring about an automatic course correction. Europe has struggled for decades to escape the low growth funk left by its own overregulation. The rise of statist Peronists in Argentina helps explain its century of relative decline. Peronist is impossibly complicated, like obscenely complicated. This is a no, like just an absurd, like flat reduction here. So Peronists, like people claiming to be Peronists in Argentina, have varied enormously in terms of ideology, their goals, their competency at achieving their goals. As for Europe and its overregulation, The Economist literally exists, and it says in its mission statement it exists to like promote free market ideology. But like even besides either of these, what about fucking China? Like we're just always talking around the country that has like an enormous amount of like centralized government and also plays the game of the markets really, really well. Deng Xiaoping, unfortunately, vindicated by history. Resisting Gen Z socialism is therefore an urgent task. So how have they demonstrated that so far? If they get the policies in place, it will be really bad, and it will be really bad for a long time because it will be like Europe's overregulation and Argentina's Peronism. And they can say that for sure, even though their walkthrough of the mechanics of how their economic policies would not work doesn't actually add up. Cool. The first step is for free market liberals to stop apologizing. It's like a skit. Like it's the first step is for free market liberals to stop apologizing. B-Rat says, I assume The Economist is pro-CIA coups. The only way this makes sense. Yeah. I mean, like, to be pro, like, free market ideology, just, it, like, has to lead you either towards supporting American imperialist coups or to eventually abandon free market ideology. Valerie the Lovely Italian says, they were apologizing? Yeah. If they have been apologizing, I'd like for them to carry on. I really, I haven't had enough of them apologizing yet. If they were, I hadn't noticed it. A series of popular criticisms of capitalism, each containing a grain of truth, has in aggregate obscured the fundamental wisdom that private enterprise is at the root of human prosperity. It's so good, dude. The fundamental wisdom that private enterprise is at the root of human prosperity. It's just like, no, man, what are you talking about? Yes, people aren't always rational, as behavioral economics shows. True, inequality matters and growth is better when broad-based. Free trade and globalization create losers as well as winners. But this is the best time in human history to be born, given record real incomes, high life expectancy, and low rates of extreme poverty. A punchier defense of capitalism would work better in the social media age than hand-wringing by uncharismatic centrists like Sir Keir Starmer. Okay, so The Economist, I think, here is finally admitting that they are quite far to the right. Like, finally, this is a kind of a tacit admission by them that like they are not just a rational, almost apolitical publication. Ro the Fair Thing Lion says, buddy, what? Centrist governments must also solve the problems driving popular discontent. Abundance liberals are right to want to build cheap and plentiful housing and infrastructure. Politicians must stop saddling the young with the burden of funding excessive pensions. Oh my god, it's The Economist and Kurzgesagt working in lockstep. That's insane. The tax system must ensure that meritocracy, come on, prevails over inheritocracy. there is already a name for the kind of society where people inherit power and wealth. It's even already an ocracy. Broader-based inheritance taxes and levies on property would help. The hardest challenge will be the disruption caused by advances in AI. The Gen Z leftists have set out their stall with calls for a moratorium on data centers and a government jobs guarantee. Liberals must be more positive and imaginative in their own prescriptions, using a mixture of taxes, distributed capital ownership, and support for workers to make sure that the upsides of labor market disruption are widely shared. The world is ruled by little else. Populists have the wind in their sails. It can sometimes seem as though market liberalism is doomed to political failure. The Economist It's so good. The Economist disagrees. A robust defense of the ideas that have brought unprecedented riches have barely been tried. This is so good. This is so good. The Economist walking in wearing aviator sunglasses. It's just like, I'm here to stick up for capitalism. I'm no longer apologizing. I'm no longer apologizing, and I'm gonna tell everyone that I'm a liberal market capitalist. And there's never been a better time in history to do so. Good lord. Okay. Okay. So, oh, sorry. Many of there's two whole sentences left. Many of the problems that animate Gen Z socialists like high rents are the result of markets that are insufficiently free, not excessively so. Oh my god, dude. I guess here is the point at which you could, like, really get out your camping chair and fucking decide to just spend all day back and forth with whichever dipshit from the London School of Economics wrote this. Whichever fucking dickhead landlord who thinks that they have a rational grasp on the hard science of economics and not just a fucking egregiously stubborn case of Dunning-Kruger. Okay. There is time yet for liberalism to once again produce results and to win the argument. Well, Chad, what do we think about that? What do we think about that article? Was that good for you? Was that article good? Did we enjoy that? What are your takes? I'd like to I think first talk about that idea about the state was really striking to me the first time I read this, because this sort of very dogmatic free market ideological plea. I would call it a plea, I think. Like, we really must, we have to, for the sake of everything, we have to fight against Gen Z socialism because they're going to get rid of our beautiful, beautiful markets. Little Toasty X says, well, I'm convinced. But like, one more deregulation, Greggs can stay. No, Greggs must be nationalized for the sake of the British people. Yeah, this idea of like, oh no, the markets are going to disappear. Again, I repeat, China, like, has enormous and successful capitalist markets. It contains capitalism within a framework of state control. Like, it just like, it uses it as a productive engine in a way that, like, honestly, you'd think The Economist would be super fucking into, but it's this, again, to return to Graeber, like, this idea that the state and the market are opposing forces has entered the, like, common sense understanding of the world, like this sort of common sense ontology we have, where, like, obviously the state regulates more things, there's less free market. That's all there is to it. Like, there can be more market or more state. But no, like, and I mean, and then the Economist gets around to making like completely tapped in the head arguments like the market isn't free enough, and that's where the bad things are coming from. The more you regulate, the more you end up with bad outcomes like high rents. Like Morrigan, lovely to have you here. Welcome to the stream. And Prince Infidel. No, I think I already said hello to. Hi, Prince Infidel. Welcome to the stream. It's lovely to have you here. If this is your second hello, you're welcome. Um, um, but Graeber talks about how the state and the market are like phenomena that emerge at the same time and intrinsically related to each other in human history and culture. Now, to briefly run through the way that he goes through this it's basically you have to start with the myth of barter. So the myth of barter is that money was invented to solve the problem of bartering. If you ask as a child, why do we have money? It seems to cause so many problems. You will often be told the same explanation that I think Marx and Adam Smith both took for granted, that like people used to barter. Sally has 3 goats and John has 5 pairs of shoes and Henry has 3 apples. And you need to do a complex web of trades in order to like get things of equal value traded for each other, and this is an imprecise like economic system, and money comes in to replace that. And Graeber shows that there are like just so many different forms of trade and forms of economy beyond what is the very narrow imagination of the modern world. And once you understand that, then you understand that like barter was not all that existed before money. You can question like, well, why did money come to exist? And actually, like the financial control that is exerted by the state in having people use IOU tokens essentially from the central bank. This becomes more obviously the real reason that human beings started using money. Morgan says 12 Apple dollars, and Million Peaches says, oh god, company script. Vodorella says also war. Yeah, so if you imagine, for example, there's a town where there's some farmers and blacksmiths and leather workers, I don't know, a thatcher and a cobbler and whatever. And they also are regularly visited by traveling traders who move through, right? Like you imagine a fairly like balanced economic situation where if people didn't have money, they could probably do just fine. Like maybe the butcher effectively just butchers as much meat as is brought by hunters and farmers to be butchered, and then gives it to the people who need it, and the people are the blacksmith who provides nails and horseshoes to shoe horses. This kind of thing. There's a balanced relationship, and whether it's mediated by money or not, like there are regular flows that form this quite stable situation. Stable horses. Sorry. And if an army were being sent by the state this exists within to go to war, right, it would make more sense rather than trying to send, in pre-modern times, rather than trying to send all resources with the army, to have the army exist within the state that it exists, you know, on its way out to wherever. And giving this army IOUs from the king, essentially, allows for them to trade with local people and give them something that can allow them to like get back to their homeostasis, their economic homeostasis afterwards. So the existence of armies and the existence of money are very, very related, right? There's another one where like we again think of like money as arising only out of the market, whereas an army is a very like directly centralized state-controlled thing that plays an enormous role in the emergence of like franked like coin money. Rowe says, the Economist saying that the problem with the state of capitalism is that it's not capitalism enough yet is absolutely horrifying, because any more increments of capitalism will simply end the world and itself faster. But they just go ahead and say it because they painted themselves into a corner at this point. It's like I say, it's an ideological and dogmatic plea towards an ideology that everyone is now finding like not just inadequate, but as you say, like omnicidal. Famished Jet, thank you so much for subscribing at tier 1. Famished Jet has subscribed for 8 months. Wow. 9 months. Even more wow. Okay. I'm going to take a breath. I've gotten a little bit manic on this article. Just like such an insane article. Gen Z socialism must be stopped is so nuts. This idea that it's like, it's a me first doctrine. This is an idea that I find quite interesting. I want to explore a little bit. I agree with The Economist that there are a bunch more people believing and sharing and spreading leftist ideas, like quite far left ideas, relative to recent history within the imperial core now. I say this as someone who has been making leftist content online for nearly a decade. Like, I have watched the scene transform enormously to the point that it's no longer just one scene, even, like, or not just one of a few scenes of like people talking about leftist ideas. Like, suddenly there is a massive world out there of like people making short form content, and so many like essentially like non-brand influencers, like people who are just themselves on their personal whatever, suddenly becoming absolutely viral, just talking about how they hate the government, they hate capitalism, they think that like, there should be socialism. I do think that the social organism of like I agree with The Economist, Sophie from Mars, June 16th, 2026. Exactly. But if you can include the quotes that The Economist is saying, it would add infinitely to the funniness of that. Right. I agree with The Economist, Sophie from Mars, June 16th, 2026. And then you have all the things The Economist is saying in this. Like what have we got? Some what was a particularly good accidentally based sentence they had? Growth does little to help ordinary people. Spending can be paid for by the richest. Chunks of everyday daily life, from housing to groceries, governed by state diktat. Hell yeah, there we go. The mushroom spores of socialism growing in the fertile soil of capitalism's dying body. Exactly. Yeah, just a silly, goofy article for everyone to start off the liberal slop today. I have now been streaming for 1 hour. And we're going to be talking about AI after this. If you've been enjoying the stream so far, if you continue to enjoy the stream, I hope, please consider paying for the stream. I am doing my job right now. I've been streaming for an hour. People have donated £5 so far. I would really like to hit £150. Here's the target there, before the end of the stream. Please remember that small donations do make a big difference. I know I say the plug for people to donate a lot, and then it comes out sounding really rote because like I have it, like I have to remember it and say it, and the easiest way is to say it the same ways. But seriously, like, I am quite poor, as I've been explaining with the organizing updates. Like, the situation I am in with stuff going on the estate is very stressful, and the very first I heard about it was that my landlord wanted to increase the rent by more than £200 a month. I'm also like spending a lot of time on it, which is complicated and rewarding in some ways, and also like scary and exhausting and time consuming. And I am not getting like the time in to do my job properly. And I had to write about on my Patreon like what's been going on in the estate to explain why the Ezra Klein script took so much longer to write than I think it should have. And the biggest reason is the stuff with the landlord. So please, if you can, consider supporting the stream by subscribing or cheering or donating directly using Command Tip. There are 40 people watching right now, which means that if everyone watching donated £4, 1, 2, 3, 4, if you all did Command exclamation point, here we go, let's go to chat, Command Tip, that's exclamation mark TIP, and gave £4, we would hit the goal immediately, and that would be wonderful, and I would be feeling a lot less stressed about rent and bills and having what I need to enjoy life. Okay. And VOD watchers, if you would like to support me financially, there's the usual way, my Linktree, and I also linked my GoFundMe for a birthday vacation that I want to take. Thank you all. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna take another breath before like diving into stuff, because I genuinely do get I get on too much of a flow with just talking, and I get a little bit manic and I'm not breathing. But the trans clinic doctor this morning told me that my blood pressure was really good, which I was very surprised by, because I had just been telling her at length how badly the systems have been setting me down, letting me down, which is like is not a topic that makes me feel very peaceful. Okay. Let's. Oh. Sleepy Bees in Love says, "Yay, good grade in blood pressure." Yeah, I was a bit disappointed. They said they couldn't take my blood today. I always kind of feel it's an opportunity to measure something in like when they take my bloods for my hormone levels. Like not the hormone levels, to be clear, the thing being measured, but like how quickly I fill up a tube of blood. Because one of the first times that I donated blood, the nurse told me I had, in her words, an amazing flow rate. And I just like immediately was like, holy shit, a good grade in blood. Morrigan the Fae, thank you so much for donating £13 and 12 pence with the chat message. Non sequitur, but I'm moving out for the first time. Tenants Union, here I come. Holy shit, that's very exciting and a big scary step. So I'm really proud of you, and I hope it goes really, really well. There are now almost 50 people watching. So again, if everybody donated just £3 now, the number goes down the more people there are, you see. That's communism. If everybody watching just donated £3, we'd get right past the goal for today's stream donations immediately. Okay, we are going to look at some AI opinions. In the first one is the Atlantic. Are they both the Atlantic? And then we're going to get onto Rutger Bregman's incredible video from this week. Okay, two articles from the Atlantic and one headline from The Economist, just to show some of the kind of discussions going on around AI at the moment. So quickly, how to share AI riches was something I was considering bringing up on the stream today. It has the subtitle, From Donald Trump to Sam Altman, the idea of redistributing them is catching on. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? Chat, if I said to you, I feel like the rich, the ultra rich, are just trying to like throw money through the engine to keep the economies of the imperial core in the air currently. Would you understand what I meant by that? What would your understanding of that be, and also what is your general, I guess, your understandings of the economics around AI at the moment? Princess Back Knight 666 says, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that AI won't produce much riches at all. Interesting. Morrigan says AI is an industry built on sand, so no. Million Peaches says, I think this push they're talking about is to just leave the public holding the bag when the economy implodes and the bubble pops. Interesting. So, okay, I think we're going to get to a bunch of this with Rutger Bregman's video about AI, but there are, and Bregman is an example of this, there's an increasing number of people who are trying to say, like, all the anti-AI stuff is wrong-headed and missing important, crucial stuff. Thank you so much to someone who just donated £27, no message. That's massively appreciated. Thank you so much. We're now almost a third of the way to today's dono goal, and only one article in. Very cool. Thank you so much. But also, everyone, please remember that small donos make a big difference too. So everyone, if you want to just donate £3, if everybody did that, we would get there really easy. Oh, that's such a relief. That one wasn't clicking for a really long time. Sorry if anyone finds that gross. I know some people do. But anyway, there are an increasing number of people who are trying to say all like radically anti-AI stuff is wrong-headed and missing all the facts, and then they go on to say actually AI is great and it's going really, really well. I think there are some people who are like talking wrong-headedly about AI from a leftist and like radically like boycotting all AI technologies perspective, which I think is a valid perspective, because to begin with, like, we do know that AI's impact on the environment is absolutely catastrophic. We also know that like there are a whole bunch of ethical reasons against the technologies, the sort of core technologies that are being called AI, incredibly valid moral issues people have with them. There's also like the societal effect, and I think annoyingly Ezra Klein made a distinction in one of his recent podcast episodes that I have to like really do have to hand it to him, that like it was a fairly sound observation, right? There is AI for the rich, as in like tools that help with industry that are genuinely making a big difference for people. And there's AI for the poor, which is the fucking horrifying Baudrillardian like simulation that people are being trapped into with misinformation and AI chatbots and generative like image AI LLMs, where it's just like enveloping a sort of captured population in this like bizarre consumer fantasy land. And that's the part also that's filling up the internet with slop. And I think that was a perfectly valid observation. I've been thinking, especially since I watched the Rutger Bregman video, about like what I consider to be like a valid take on AI, basically. Like what criteria make me think that someone isn't just sort of clinging to a party line that they've sort of heard on AI, and makes me feel like this person has thought and learned about this topic. And like, I think it's really crucial to be able to differentiate between the different things being called AI, because when someone, for example, says that like the stock market has become automated and is now AI, the stock market was automated like decades ago. The stock market has been run by algorithms for a very long time. And algorithms and machine learning are one of the kinds of technologies that's getting called AI, which predates 2023, which is the kind of essential turning point for talking about this. Understanding, I think, those technologies that are making differences in the world isn't to say that those differences are good. Like, some of those differences are differences in military effectiveness. straightforwardly a bad thing, right? Like just like they can kill more people if they're successful. Sometimes they're like awful. Um, but I think that one thing that's good about like understanding that difference is that you can then understand uh, the difference in approach between the imperial core and a place like China, because China built a whole bunch of AI that is way more efficient, so the environmental cost is like way down, right? The damage being done by it is way down. Uh, they are not in the hype bubble, right? So the massive overconstruction of data centers is not being done. Um, they are not creating what, again, on that distinction, like the AI for the poor, the sort of like horrifying simulation bubble, all the slop generators, the misinfo generators. China isn't doing that. They just aren't into that part of it, and it becomes the case, I think, that like you can see which parts of these technologies could be a bit useful to some people, uh, because China is doing them. Um, a surprisingly effective litmus test, I would say, for which things will survive the hype bubble and stick around as changes to the world that are brought about by the kinds of technologies that people are calling AI at the moment. You can also have that the litmus test of just like, um, did it just already exist? because if it already existed, yes, it's going to continue to be a part of the world after the AI hype bubble collapses, and also like it's not going to change the world and be part of a big revolution of all like industry under AI because it was just already there. It just already existed. Million Peaches, welcome to the stream. It's lovely to have you here as always. Million Peaches says, "Yeah, no, I worked in machine learning stuff for years, and it's been so frustrating to see this happen over the last like 4 to 5 years. It's impossible to talk about a literal field of computer science now because of this lol." Yeah, I feel the same way. So I studied electronic and electrical engineering for 2 years before I dropped out, and I had been a hobbyist roboticist for quite a few years before that, and like I just it's been driving me pretty fucking insane, actually. Okay. Where were we? Okay. Let's carry on talking about AI. I just have a whirlwind tour through a couple of things here. So we've got the data center panic is overblown. There's very much the same genre of take as we're going to get to with Rutger Bregman. Critics are inflating the costs. Okay. Data centers are allegedly an unmitigated disaster. They guzzle water, strain electric grids, and raise prices, all while offering almost nothing in return. Little wonder that according to a recent Gallup poll, 71% of Americans oppose the construction of new AI data centers in their area. Politicians of both parties are proposing moratoriums on new builds, and local officials who have approved construction in the past are losing re-election because of it. Based. Princess Beck Knight says, inflates your data center big and round. The reason I wanted to have a little bit of a precursor conversation before getting into any of this stuff, to be clear, is that like I think that it's become a topic with a bunch of misinformation swirling around it. I think often the absolute bottom line, most misinformed people are the people most into AI within the West, especially because they are part of this horrendous hype bubble. I do think there is some misinformation that I've seen going around from a leftist and anti-AI perspective, but but it's just not nearly as bad as the other side. And again, like that litmus test of like what China is doing versus what the West is doing, I find useful there again, because it's just like if the product is an AI boyfriend, and so like a company just having like a creepy and exploitative, arguably abusive relationship to its consumers, with this technology, and the stuff being built for these chatbots has all of these terrible environmental consequences, or even like mildly bad environmental consequences. Again, for a product that actually sucks and the world is kind of worse for it anyway. And the same is true for like misinfo and AI generated slop and whatever. Like, we know that those parts of what people are calling AI are not like long-term viable products, parts of the economy, parts of society, whatever. I've just seen something I want to bookmark for later. Um, but this is what I mean when I say the ultra rich are like throwing money through the economy, like through the engine to keep the economy going. And sometimes when I'm saying this, the engine is like a rocket or a plane, and it's about keeping the economy up. But sometimes when I say it, I just think about Snowpiercer. I say they're throwing money through the engine because if the engine stops, we all freeze and die. Like, Marx talked about real capital, fiscal capital, and fictitious capital. Real capital, right? You have 20 tons of oranges to sell on the market. You sell them and get money, which is fiscal capital. You invest the money not by buying more real capital, the normal business model there, but by taking that money and putting it into a share in orange juice futures. This is fictitious capital, right? Like oh my goodness, I had a donation that I didn't read out, and I'm very, very sorry about that. I've only just seen it. It's from Micey, who has tipped £3 with the donation message #doingmypart. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And yes, Micey was doing their part. If everybody donated just £3, the nightmare of me not having £150. That's so stupid. If you've been enjoying the stream, please consider paying for the stream. I am doing work right now. Thank you very much. What am I talking about? The ultra rich throwing money through the economy. So, for the economy to be growing, and therefore prosperous and good and morally good, and to be like generating like revenue that is helping other like the American economy is so like the main sector of growth now is the tech sector, and the tech sector is almost entirely the AI bubble. And a crucial thing to understand is that like if capital is not moving through the market, if it is just held in one place, right? Like that the big pile of oranges I just got you to picture with the real capital is a good example, because if it just literally sat there, it would go moldy and no longer be of any value to anyone. This is a good example to consider because like that's a logic you need to apply to all capital. Capital circulates or it dies. If someone were to swear to keep a big pile of money that's worth $3 trillion just in a warehouse somewhere, it would be effectively the same as just burning it, just destroying it, right? It would destroy that money. Capital circulates or it dies. The important idea from that is that like when you have a situation like the American economy right now, and it is dependent so hugely on this one particular industry continuing to function, that industry has to have revenue. And the AI, AI for the poor, the slop the misinfo, the chatbots. It's... sorry, I've missed a lot of chat. That AI for the poor, it's not a profitable business model, and it's unlikely to become one. But it has a high turnover. Money is being pushed through it, which is keeping the industry going, which is keeping the sector going, which is keeping the American economy going. That's what I mean when I say they're just throwing money through the engine. I've looked up my criteria that I listed out for good AI takes so that we can see them. My current litmus test for a reasonable and well-informed take on AI is based on a few criteria. Three criteria. 1, it differentiates between the technologies currently being referred to as AI. 2, it differentiates between government/corpo tools that can be useful, that can do useful things, and consumer AI, as I just said. And 3, understands the data center bubble. This is one that I think that a lot of people get wrong in different ways, and a lot of the takes that we see about it, including this Atlantic one and the Rutger Bregman video, seem to sort of center around, is there a bubble or isn't there a bubble? And that's kind of it. Like, people either pushing very, very hard, there is the biggest bubble, and it's about to collapse imminently, and absolutely every trace of AI will disappear when it does, and we will sort of reset to 2022. Or arguing it's not a bubble whatsoever. Absolutely every change we have seen is the is staying forever, basically. And it is a bubble. Capitalism literally functions by creating bubbles of hype. It's inarguably a bubble, and a bunch of industry leaders agree that it's a bubble, and consider the main debate there to only be about how much of the hype is going to disappear. And so people arguing there is no bubble at all, just categorically nuts. So I've said here, people on the left tend to have at least one of these 3 points down in their takes, whereas people from US liberals rightwards tend to fall down on all 3. Saying the left doesn't understand AI has perhaps a bit of truth to it, but people boycotting AI are not the ones most misinformed about it. Do I even want to read these? I think I kind of just want to get straight to Rutger Bregman, because I think that's the main thing here. Chat, would you like me to go into the data center panic is overblown and 3 ways to think about AI and jobs? Or would you like to go straight to... Now, he's changed the title here. It's now Why Smart People Keep Getting AI Wrong. I think it was called The Left is Wrong About AI. And it used to have a protester on the thumbnail who had a Stop the Data Center thing. I think in the interest of keeping the stream relatively short today, I'm going to go... Beck saying, hit us with the worst thing you got, IMO. I think we should go watch the video, and if there is time afterwards, we'll have a little bit of a look into these articles if there's interest in that. Okay, let's get into it with Rutger Bregman. It's such a... Sorry. I'm gonna get pretty pissed off, probably. Okay. Remember, chat, if you're enjoying the stream, to consider paying for the stream. Also, tell me about...
If you're old enough, you may remember this.
Tell me about volume levels, because I'll need telling about how my volume and his relatively...
Moment. It's 2006. Former presidential candidate Al Gore presents the documentary An Inconvenient Truth. Behind him, there's an enormous screen that shows the level of CO2 in the atmosphere going back hundreds of thousands of years.
Lorcan says, I can hear him, so the volume is too high. Okay, do I even want to introduce it like that? Do I even want to say what he's gonna do? He's already jumped right into it. The beginning of this video is about climate denial.
If you're old,
it used to be very... Before he changed the thumbnail and title, it was a lot more explicit and immediately obvious what his take was going to be here.
Enough, you may remember this moment. It's 2006. Former presidential candidate Al Gore presents the documentary An Inconvenient Truth. Behind him, there's an enormous screen that shows the level of CO2 in the atmosphere going back hundreds of thousands of years.
This, incidentally, is the first time anybody outside of a small group of scientists has seen this image.
He walks the audience through it, ice age by ice age.
And that's the last ice age. That's the second and third ice age back, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh ice age back.
And then comes the most impressive moment of the doc, when Gore names the implications that will define our future.
Here's what the temperature has been on our Earth. And the relationship is actually very complicated, but there is one relationship that is far more powerful than all the others, and it is this. When there is more carbon dioxide, the temperature gets warmer.
Finally, he makes the move that makes the film unforgettable.
The crew here has tried to teach me how to use this contraption here, so...
Al Gore steps onto a scissor lift.
It's already right here.
He keeps rising.
You've heard of off the charts. Within less than 50 years, it'll be here. There's not a single fact or date or number that's been used to make this up that's in any controversy.
Within 2 years, Al Gore has won an Oscar and a Nobel Peace Prize. For one brief moment, it feels as though the world might finally listen. But we all know what happened next. The climate deniers mobilized. They brought a snowball onto the Senate floor and asked, "Where's your global warming now?"
Mr. President, catch this.
They said things that were technically true, like CO2 is good for plant growth, and completely misleading. And above all, they moved the goalposts. First it was, the climate isn't warming. Then it became, fine, it's warming, but not because of us. Then it was, okay, it's us, but it won't be that bad. And then it became, all right, it's pretty bad, but it's China's fault.
And where did Rutger Bregman land when all of this climate denial was happening? He tells us he was very mad about it. And in the last few years, he has started insisting that more build-out of fossil fuel infrastructure is necessary for the economic growth needed for a transition to renewables to happen. The incredible mind that brought you Utopia for Realists.
And we can't afford to fix it. The whole time, Al Gore's red line kept climbing. I was 18 years old in 2006, and I was furious. How could any serious person look at this evidence and refuse to see it? Climate denial, I thought, was the disease of the right. And you know what? I was wrong. Not about the right, but about who else is capable of denial. Because we, the liberals, the left, the journalists, the academics, the 97% in this house we believe that science is real crowd, we are now doing to the threat of artificial intelligence.
If you he very quickly flashed past Ed Zitron here, and I didn't realize what incredibly hardcore fans Ed Zitron had at this point. But if you have a scroll through these comments, the Zitron bros. the vitamin Z gang. They're out in force.
Exactly what the right did to the threat of climate change.
AI as the most profound technology.
Exactly what the right did to the threat of climate change? Are you sure about that? You sure about that, buddy? This video is so insane. This video is completely nuts. Just like, yes, this is the take he's giving us. The left being reticent to believe all of the hype about AI. That's the same as climate denial, dude. That's the same thing. Million Peaches says, the left is sponsoring decades of misinformation against AI? Yeah, exactly. Like, they're doing exactly the same thing. Thank you, Morgana. Exactly. It's an unhinged take. Just like, on the face of it, from the start here, just an unhinged thing to be saying. Just genuinely, like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Humanity is working on, more profound than fire or electricity.
Yeah! Suck it, fire!
The deniers are us.
Fuck a...
Okay, let me just pause on that clip for a second there. Like, this joke is entirely valid, right? The CEO of Google just said that AI is a more profound technology than fire. Trying to be, like, realistic about, like, the changes that AI is bringing into the world, even if you imagine they are really quite big, you have to write off a lot of the, like, the slop simulation chatbot LLM parts of it off as a huge part of the hype bubble. That, like, we will not have the necessary, like, computing power to keep up the demand there. It's not profitable and it sucks. At the apex of, like, like, at the perfect crossroads of all of those very bad factors, like, that's not going to be a thing that lasts long term. If you imagine that the industry changes, like the industry tools, the AI for the rich, as we're making this distinction, this Ezra Klein distinction, if you imagine that's going to be huge, this comparison to fire thing is still a very pretentious thing to say. Like a very pretentious, like, overhyped, silly thing to say, right? Like, I'm trying to absolutely steelman the AI position as much as I think is fair there. It's still, this is a completely valid joke for someone to make, especially if, like, most people, their main understanding of AI is ChatGPT, which is, like, it's fine for that to be most people's understanding because, like, that's the one that's been absolutely shoved down their throats the most. It's like saying your invention is the wheel too. Yes, Morgana, exactly that. Like, it's like more profound than fire. I mean, in that you can tell when humans invented fire in the fucking fossil record based on the amount of carbon in the air. Yeah. I think we might be able to see a bit of the impact of AI in a really profound way. But no, it won't be more than fire. Okay, I'm going to rewind very slightly just so that we've got a more clean, like, go here, because I'm aware that, like, when you pause on something, especially mid-sentence, you end up kind of losing something. And I'd just like to say to everyone, I've been streaming for 1 hour and 40 minutes now. If everybody watching donated just £3 or less now, actually, like £2.50, we would get way past the donation goal for today, which is £150 very quickly. So please do, if you're enjoying the stream, consider paying for the stream. You can subscribe or cheer or donate directly using command tip, and I'd really appreciate it. And VOD watchers, you can do the same. Well, you can't subscribe or cheer. I suppose you can do that, but I won't get it. Like, now, obviously. You can also donate if you're a VOD watcher, but I will also put the link to my GoFundMe for a trip to where I was born, because I just turned 30. in the description of the VOD. So thank you. Please check that out. Let's go back slightly.
Profound technology.
What the right did to the threat of climate change.
AI is the most profound technology humanity is working on. More profound than fire or electricity.
Yeah! Sucking fire!
The deniers are us.
Fuck AI. It's so stupid. Have you tried using it?
In March 2023, the New York Times published an op-ed by Noam Chomsky, one of the most prominent intellectuals alive, a hero of my political tradition, a man whose book shaped me. The piece was called...
I really love... Sorry. Especially in the context of this video coming out as like, the left is wrong about AI. The guy he's changed it now to be like, smart people keep on getting AI. Or was it now? Why smart people keep getting AI wrong is the new name. Noam Chomsky has taken a noticeable rep hit recently, but the biggest issue people should have with his works is that he's like fairly like iconic as a like imperial core leftist without, you know, enough anti-imperialism. Like he's just a fairly milquetoast leftist, actually, I'd say. Like I think that his contribution of Manufacturing Consent, incredible book, like really important. I think that a lot of the stuff that we discuss here on the stream works from that propaganda model a lot of the time, really vitally, and also like he's about, you know, he'll go about as hard as like UBI a lot of the time while calling himself an anarchist. Very good example of anarcho-treatism, I would say, from Noam. Plus L, plus Epstein flight logs, plus why are you trying to convince us you're a leftist because you were super into Noam Chomsky? Come on, Rutger.
The False Promise of ChatGPT. Chomsky argued that AI is incapable of real thought, that the models could never reason morally, that they would never understand causation, that treating them as intelligent was a basic mistake. He called them a lumbering statistical engine for pattern matching. Now, this wasn't a fringe view. It was the consensus of a lot of serious people. The New Yorker ran a long essay arguing that ChatGPT was a blurry JPEG of the web, a lossy compressor that memorized the internet badly and hallucinated the rest. In 2021, the linguist Emily Bender and the computer scientist Timnit Gebru had given the whole skeptical movement its slogan. These machines, they wrote, are stochastic parrots.
What's this called?
Plant.
Yes, plants, that's right.
They just imitate.
I find this to be a really bizarre part of the video because, like, okay, you can just entirely tell me if I'm wide of the mark here. I hadn't heard stochastic parrots, like, I just hadn't really heard. I might have heard it before. I might have heard like one or two people saying it. He's talking like he's heard it every single day, and it's really, really bugging him. And then to evidence this, or like to sort of punctuate that point in the edit, he has a video of a real parrot, where the natural kind of thing to put in that moment in a video of this style would be to show loads of people saying stochastic parrots. It doesn't undermine what he's kind of saying in the piece. Like, the point does that to itself. But it is just a really odd moment. And you can tell me, like, please do, if actually it's a super common phrase that I've just not heard.
They don't reason. Now, I want to be clear. Chomsky, Bender, Gebru, these are smart people. Some of what they warned about has come true. The web is drowning in machine-generated slop. The training data is biased and the energy bill is staggering. But their central conviction that this whole Silicon Valley AI project would hit a wall any minute now, that conviction has completely collapsed. In the 3 years since those pieces were published, here's a partial list of things that the stochastic parrot blurry JPEG lumbering pattern matcher has actually done. It has won art and writing prizes without the judges knowing it was a machine they were judging. It has passed the medical licensing exam and outdiagnosed doctors in head-to-head studies. It has run the first clinical trial of an AI therapist and halved the depression symptoms of patients in 8 weeks. It has won a gold medal at the International Mathematical Olympiad. It has cracked math problems that had stumped researchers for decades. It has outscored PhDs answering questions in their own field, questions designed so you cannot Google the answer, and perhaps most importantly, this supposedly stupid...
Okay, sorry, I was just promoting the stream, and I would like to rewind to the start of this list of things he's got here, of things AI has done, because this is quite silly. Reminder, please consider supporting the stream financially if you are enjoying the stream. Right. The pieces... It won art prizes. Right, this is number one. Okay.
lumbering pattern matcher has actually done. It has won art and writing prizes without the judges knowing it was a machine they were judging. It has passed the medical licensing.
Okay. Winning, we could view this essentially as like an advanced Turing test thing, but also like there are existing technologies from before 2023 that could have generated art pieces, and also technology has been used in art, like, and also the people who fed the prompts, the people that directed the AI to write this stuff, you would say they used technology to create these art pieces. Like, all of this, there are many ways around where I really super don't credit it won prizes as if like art awards, or even like fooling anyone in particular into thinking that it was a human generated thing, when again it is trained on human generated art. That this is like a really, really significant victory. Morrigan says, I don't believe any of these stories. Look, to save us time on like to save us time on like fact checking every single one, try steel manning them, right? Like, give them the most credence and see if it really still like adds what he thinks it adds. AI can diagnose disease better than doctors. The issue is not, firstly, the issue is not simply whether it can diagnose diseases better than doctors can. For one, there are types of problem that the more AI is used, the more we will find that it has a particular way of thinking about things that is limited in ways we will currently be blind to. For another, training AI and doctors together, like getting doctors and AI to independently look at verifications and diagnoses, is always going to be long-term the best way to approach this problem if you're going to introduce AI medical systems like this. And thirdly, like, the machine diagnosing more effectively than human doctors isn't actually the issue. The issue is having a human doctor to report back to. Like, people have been surveyed for a very, very long time about the possibility of a technology like this existing, and they've always said that they would prefer the doctor that is less accurate compared to the machine that is more accurate, because of the inability to hold someone accountable if they were diagnosed by a machine, right? Because it's your fucking health, it's your body, it's your life. Like, okay, let's carry on.
Exam and outdiagnosed doctors in head-to-head studies. It has run the first clinical trial of an AI therapist and halved the depression symptoms of patients in 8 weeks. It has won a gold medal.
Oh shit, I accidentally sped it up. I didn't mean to do that. How do I undo that? Oh god. No, it's back to normal.
At the internet and halved the
Okay, it's... An AI, again here we're falling down on the criteria of like distinguishing between different technologies that are being referred to as AI, because like, what do we mean by this? But we're assuming it means chatbot, but the next example right after this, it's clearly going to mean something very different. The first trial of generative AI therapy shows it might help with depression. We know there are cases of AI chatbots killing people. doing the opposite to helping with their depression, specifically pushing people towards suicide, worsening their depression, encouraging their suicidal ideation, and being extremely, extremely dangerous for people's mental health. A trial has shown that this chatbot could help people. It just doesn't like... The evidence-backed model delivered impressive results, but it doesn't validate the wave of AI therapy bots flooding the market is literally in the subtitle. He's literally put it on screen. Anyway.
Depression symptoms of patients in 8 weeks. It has won a gold medal at the International Mathematical Olympiad. It has cracked math problems that had stumped researchers for decades. It has...
Sorry, I need to go back to this one. The Mathematical Olympiad. Here I'm going to say, okay, fair enough. Let's give it the point, right? Let's absolutely hand it to it. And also, I've got it ready to hand over here. I just need an address to send it in the post. Now, is that a chatbot you're talking about? Because chatbots really can't do maths so good. It says, advanced version of Gemini with DeepThink officially achieves gold medal standard at the International Mathematical Olympiad here, right? Like, we are not talking about the same kind of technology here at all.
Olympiad. It has cracked math problems that had stumped researchers for decades. It has outscored PhDs answering questions in their own field, questions designed so you cannot Google the answer. And perhaps most importantly, this supposedly stupid parrot is improving itself now. Inside leading AI labs, more than 90% of the code is currently written by AI.
If you've been keeping up with the way that if you've been keeping up with the reports on AI writing code for big AI companies, this stuff is poised to be absolutely catastrophic. There is a bunch of stuff already like being used in the coding world. This is something that, it might be too big a derail for me to be able to properly get into, but I used to be a programmer, and my girlfriend is far more like up-to-date tech savvy than me, or like really than I ever was. And she we have great conversations about this. I would say I have a level of industry experience and competence and understanding to be able to understand these problems properly that people who have never professionally programmed do not. And Bregman is going to say in a second in the video that he has never written a line of code. And this much of the Claude code is being written by Claude, 90 to 95%, it's not an uncomplicated subject. It's actually a vastly complicated subject, and the problems with it are so scary, so enormous. Ro, thank you so much for the £2 donation with the message. Gonna have to go VOD mode from here, reach various pain thresholds. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service, Ro, and welcome back, VOD mode, Ro. Yeah, okay, one example I remember is just almost an entire very complex piece of software being written as one absurdly long run-on line is an example of Claude Code writing its own code, which is just for a flavor of the bad programming practice that AI is working with. And I'm not just being I mean, people should have seen my code, to be honest, when I was programming, but I'm trying to be snooty about code here. There are absurd vulnerabilities when you get into the weeds of what's going on with code written by AI. But maybe maybe it would just have to be a topic for an entirely other stream. Puppy Girl Leica, welcome to the stream. It's lovely to have you here. Puppy Girl Leica says, a single study shows that our therapy machine cures 90% of people, which is statistically better than a human therapist. Yes, it does throw the other 10% in a wood chipper, but with more work, we think we can get that down to 5%, which is statistically basically nothing. Yeah, like, it is so crazy how much... Anyway, yes. All right, let's carry on with it. I will say again, everyone, if you're enjoying the stream, please consider paying for the stream. You can subscribe or cheer or donate directly using command TIP. And and I'm trying to... Sorry, I got a message from one of my neighbors. And I'm trying to hit £150 donos today. So please remember that small donations still make a big difference. If everyone watching right now donated, let me think about it, £2.10, like a very small amount actually. If everyone did command tip there in chat and donated, let's say £2.50, we would sail past the dono goal right away. Let's carry on with Rutger Bregman's incredible opinions.
But of all the data, here is the single chart that captures the AI revolution more clearly than any other. There's a research group called Meter. Since 2019, they have measured something simple. How big a coding task can an AI complete on its own? And they measure that bigness in human time, meaning how long would it take a skilled human to do the same task? In 2022, the answer was about 30 seconds. In 23, 4 minutes. In 24, 40 minutes. In 25, 6 hours. And earlier this year, 12 hours.
I hate the way he talks about this stuff. It's so fucking frustrating. Sorry, it's just like...
Hours. And earlier this year, 12 hours.
12 hours, that's right. Okay, let's look at a few things here. Firstly, 30 seconds to 4 minutes, that's an 8-fold increase. 4 minutes to 40 minutes, that's a 10-fold increase. Pretty good, it looks like it's going up. 40 minutes to 6 hours, that's what? 2/3 of an hour. That's a 9-fold increase. Oh, hang on a second. That's a smaller increase. So it went up to begin with and... okay, well, maybe going towards a linear increase here. 6 hours to 12 hours. Oh, that's a 2-fold increase. So a very significantly less large increase than before. Okay. In fact, the kind of increase that would tell you that the rate at which it's increasing at along this particular metric is plateauing very hard. Oh, okay. Is there anything else we haven't considered here? Oh shit, right. How long it takes to write that amount of code or complete that task is not just a sort of yes-no thing. It's not just quantitative, it's also a qualitative thing, because if it writes code that can technically do that, right, then is that code like gonna pass? Is it if it got inspected, if it got QA'd, if it got like properly bug tested, like how long will it additionally take a human programmer to check over this code and make sure that it works well, that it isn't full of like glaring security vulnerabilities, like assuming that it's a live project or has any kind of like concern for security. I would be quite unsurprised to learn that people spend about as long as they would working on the thing, extra time, checking any product that AI has generated, and therefore the productivity increase is nil. But anyway, right, that's an example of the kind of problem with this thinking. This is like horrendously flattening very complex topics in these industries. Million Peaches says, I can confirm that the friends I have working at various companies writing code that allowing AI coding tools have had their recent time consumed by reviewing horribly written AI code. Look, again, like, AI, I think, is having somewhat of what I'd call like a psychedelic effect on the economy, in the way that like people who've taken psychedelic drugs will appreciate that like a psychedelic effect on something isn't just like it goes all a bit rainbow and psychedelic effects to your experience of the world is like something is passing through every system of perception that you have, which you can't identify successfully, and therefore draws enormous attention to each system as it goes through it. And AI's like downstream effects through the industries where it has genuinely useful things to offer are psychedelic in this way. And the way that people present like issues with AI sometimes doesn't account for this. So for example, in generative image AI, people kept on going, you can tell this is AI because look at the fingers. And when this became a popular complaint, people started talking a little bit as if this was always going to be a super noticeable, easy to spot problem with AI. And then the people working at generative image AI systems, they worked very hard on making it get better at hands and fingers in particular, right? Something that's a lot more of an elusive problem is lighting, right? There's a kind of lighting that I think people are very familiar with AI-generated images having. Like they have a particular strange, often too bright, slightly blurry or fuzzy lighting to them, and very often like strange, like non-specific light sources, often like behind subjects of the photo. And that's still very describable. And so that's the next thing that gets chased as the problem by the people working on AI. And then there are diminishing returns as it hits a plateau of like what the glaring problem is, so that people have an innate sense of like there's something AI-ish about this, but they can't describe the problem well enough, and it's too finicky for the people working on it to successfully remove it. It's diminishing returns in terms of fidelity, in terms of accuracy, and therefore in terms of like how good the product ultimately is. It does hit a wall because of emergent complex problems of complex systems of the kind of thing that it produces. Ironically, the idea that we were given a while ago of the FOOM from the FOOM scrolling article, it's almost a reverse problem. Like, the idea of the FOOM is like cascading, overlapping, simultaneous advancements that each themselves are relatively small will lead to a massive takeoff of technological advancements, and we'll be absolutely astonished by them. I think almost the exactly opposite thing is happening with AI, where small problems that are seemingly very minute issues will overlap and cascade, creating hard limits to the hype bubble and AI's progress. At the level of the product, at the level of industry implementation, at the level of infrastructure being built. So yes, the data centers. None of like, yes, some people who have a very sort of you can tell because the fingers aren't quite right kind of approach, very uninformed approach to the problems with AI, aren't accounting for all these things. But again, like, people like Bregman are just way more wide of the mark in a sense. This set of times here, right? As I say, an 8-fold increase to a 10-fold increase to a 9-fold increase to a 2-fold increase, and it's not accounting for the QAing of the code that gets written by these AIs, is a perfect example of like the cascading problems that they aren't accounting for of complex systems they're trying to fuck with AI. Everyone, if you're enjoying the stream, please know I've now been streaming for 2 hours. If you've been enjoying the stream, I've been working for 2 hours. I'd really like to get paid for working, doing my job, so please consider paying for the stream. You can subscribe or cheer or donate directly using command tip. I'm quite poor, and I do this for my job to stay alive, and the really strange and kind of bad sometimes thing about my job is that I get paid when strangers on the internet want to pay me. It's kind of nasty sometimes. If I think too hard about it, I get really scared. Yay! If you have a Twitch account that is attached to a Prime account, that means you have a Prime sub that you can give to Twitch streamers such as me. When you do this, it doesn't cost you any money. It's free for you, but I get real money, so please consider giving me your Prime subscription if you have a Prime subscription to give. Zyros, thank you so much for the £3 donation and the message, I can't believe how much artificial slop tastes just like the real thing. I can't believe it's not Jonathan Chait slop. I can't believe it's not Ross Duther. Also, there are nearly 50 people watching right now, so if everybody watching gave only £2, did a command tip and gave £2, we would get to the dono goal of £150 today right away. So please remember that small donations still make a difference and get me towards the goal. So if you're enjoying the stream, etc.
At this moment, AI capabilities are doubling every 3 months. So, to be honest, I think this meter graph is even scarier than the one Al Gore showed us, because this line is climbing far steeper. Here, off the charts, is not 50 years away, it's 5 years away. I've personally never written a line of code in my life. And yet, in the past few months, I've let AI build me whole apps, websites, even the voice-controlled teleprompter app I'm reading from right now. Multiple times a week, I have what I can only call what the F moments. Especially in the last 6 months, the gap between what these systems can actually do and what most people assume they can do has just kept widening. Sometimes I want to shake people. Have you actually used it? I mean, really used it? Many skeptics seem to have opened ChatGPT in 2023, asked it to write a limerick, watched it fumble, and closed the tab. Well, that was 3 years ago, and 3 years in AI is a geological era. Judging today's models by GPT 3.5 is like judging smartphones by a 2007 BlackBerry. To be fair,
Here I only want to say that my partner Abby, when we were watching this video, he made this comparison, judging these by 2023, whatever, is like judging smartphones by a BlackBerry. She went, yeah, that's right. They were better. Thank you so much, Princess Beck Knife 666 for the donation of £5 with the message meow meow. Thank you so much.
I think journalists deserve much of the blame. The people whose job it is to report on the most newsworthy events have often ignored it. For example, the day the leading AI lab, Anthropic, announced Mythos, an insanely powerful model capable of hacking anything from power grids to water systems, it didn't even make the front page of a single major news site. The Guardian decided a Vogue cover with Anna Wintour and Meryl Streep was more important.
That's right, Rutger. Women are so fucking annoying.
Meanwhile, the AI race is speeding up. Remember, the models of today are the worst models we will ever have. From here on, they'll only get more powerful. And honestly, I think it's hard to wrap your head around the scale of what's coming. Look at the red line of this graph. That's what the companies have spent on AI data centers since 2019. And here's what they've got.
We're using the amount of money the ultra rich and the tech industry has spent on AI as an indicator of how successful AI is.
Planned for 2026. To be clear, this is the largest capital build-out in the recorded history of our species. It is larger than the interstate highway system, larger than the International Space Station, larger than the moon landing and the Manhattan Project combined, and it's not even...
But I think it was at this point in the video where I developed the specific phrasing, they are just throwing money through the engine. Like, I think that this is this point here where he was like, these are like the largest growing companies in history. This is the largest capital build out in the history of our species. I'm just like, yes, they have They have taken off away from the real, right? The American religion of oil is in its absolute doomsday phase, and they are just throwing money through the engine to stay airborne, because if it stops, they are just so unbelievably fucked.
Close. Mark Zuckerberg's Meta is currently building a single data center in Louisiana that, when finished, will cover nearly 4 times the size of Central Park. Amazon is spending more on data centers in 1 year than the entire annual defense budget of Germany.
Okay, I'm gonna have to intervene. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll try and leave it a second longer.
Microsoft, Google, Meta, and Amazon will spend 3 times as much on AI infrastructure in 2026 than the entire Marshall Plan that rebuilt Europe after the Second World War.
Okay, yeah, no, I gotta talk about it. So firstly, are we adjusting for inflation? No, that's not a super relevant thing here. Okay, what companies and the rich have planned to spend or have spent on data centers or investment in AI companies is not a useful metric to this stuff. It is a demonstration, as I say, the American religion of oil is doing some insane Jonestown shit right now. But, like, what they're intending to build with data centers doesn't account for either the demand they are relying on for their business model to be viable long term, right? Because if there's that much demand and they can't actually offer it to people, like that's not a good long-term strategy. But also, are these data centers getting built? You are describing promises. Like, you're describing promises of data centers, and those data centers aren't necessarily being built. There's a lot of reporting on the ways in which they are not being built, or the ways in which the places that are actually viable for them to get built are actually much more scarce than people talk as if they are. People like this. It's a highly complex problem again. But I think, like, it's not just people being opposed to them, and it's not just the environmental damage that they do, but if you put your like incredibly cynical capitalist hat on for a second and imagined like the places that would be good for building an enormous data center, right? The electrical grid needs to be able to keep up, which in America, it cannot. The energy price needs to stay low enough, which in the whole world, it's not gonna. But also factors such as temperature, because of temperature regulation, because these things give off an enormous amount of heat, and cooling can only make up for so much of that, right? Like you can cool to a certain degree, but if it is just ambiently too hot, it's not going to be viable to build the scales of data centers and the densities of data centers that they want to be making.
But isn't it all bubble? That's the next move the deniers make.
Okay, like I said earlier, we have to go with the incredibly polarized, is it a bubble or isn't it a bubble? When literally industry leaders are saying, it is definitely a bubble, there is definitely a bubble. I'm so frustrated here. Senectashik and Zyros, welcome to the stream, lovely to have you here. More like rug pull Bregman. Okay, I'll see myself out. Again, capitalism works through bubbles. This man knows this. Industry leaders are saying it's a bubble. Bizarre to leave that out here. Like, the AI deniers, such as Sam Altman, who are saying that there is an AI bubble. But I'll just direct you about around again to the litmus test of China. China is not building at the same scale or in the same ways as the West is, because it isn't interested in the slop machine. And that's a vital missing piece here, isn't it?
Once it's just a silly parrot stops working, they fall back to, it's financial madness. The data centers are serving no real demand, it's all hot air, or even a deliberate scam. And to be fair, the skeptics have some ammunition. A viral MIT study published last year found that 95% of corporate AI pilots deliver zero measurable returns. The company Klarna replaced 700 customer service workers with AI and then quietly rehired humans because customers couldn't stand talking to the bot. And McDonald's killed its 3-year AI drive-thru experiment after the system kept putting bacon on ice cream. But you know what? None of this proves anything. And let me show you why. First, look at user growth. It took Instagram 2.5 years to reach 100 million users. At the time, that was the fastest growth story ever recorded. For comparison, ChatGPT hit that milestone in 2 months, 15 times faster. Next, let's look at revenue, and at one AI lab in particular, Anthropic. Here is its annualized revenue month by month. January 2025, $1 billion. May, $3 billion. June, 4. August, 5. October 7, December 9, February 14, March 19, April 30, May 44. That's right, $44 billion in annualized revenue from one company, up 44-fold in 15 months.
It has to be revenue because it can't be income. Sorry, it has to be revenue because it can't be profit, right? Because none of them are profitable. They are. My partner is very into the writing, the regular blog that Cory Doctorow writes, and I've been reading a bit more of it recently, and it's very good. I'd really recommend it. It's called Pluralistic, and does just regularly, sometimes every day within a week, but like 5 to 7 times a week, new links that Cory Doctorow has found interesting and his commentary on them, and he recently described AI as the money-losingest venture in all of human history. Like, the flip side to what you can say, to what Rutger Bregman is saying here, like, it's the biggest capital build-out in human history. Yeah, it's also the biggest loss of money. It is the biggest people just throwing money into this fucking pit, hand over fist, in human history.
No company in any era, not Rockefeller Standard Oil, not Microsoft at the dawn of the personal computer, not Google in the tech boom, nobody has ever scaled revenue this fast. We're talking about the fastest growing company in the history of capitalism. So if this is really such a useless and fraudulent bubble, then why are people paying so much money for it? Why is the demand for AI rising faster than companies are able to build data centers? Why are IT departments, in the words of a Goldman Sachs analyst this April, overrunning their AI budgets by orders of magnitude? I'm sorry to say it, but there's a lot of highbrow misinformation circulating in left-wing media about AI. Take that viral MIT report. Read it carefully, and you see the headline got it backwards. The 95% failure rate includes the 80% of companies that never piloted.
Million Peaches just said this man probably thinks the SpaceX IPO evaluation is accurate. That's another really good thing to bring up, actually, is the international public offerings across the board, not just this, but also like SpaceX is a good example. Like the set of companies that are like massively propped up by state and societal like infrastructure, and having like money or sort of, it's difficult to, I hope people understand what I mean by this, but like either public money or pseudo-public money, like thrown into this on massive scales to subsidize them and keep them going, like OpenAI and SpaceX. Like these companies being given IPOs when they don't actually meet all the criteria for one is a very deliberate move, in my opinion, by the Trump administration to make the throwing money into the engine to keep the engine running more viable. Because the ultra rich, it's not they're like running out of money, but like the scale of demand for money into these things, for them to grow at the rate that they need to just keep growing at forever in order for the like fake money trick to work, it's completely unsustainable. Like, in order for the promise which people are waiting for, right, and seeing in like the largest in the broadest terms, like no results from, in order for them to keep waiting for that promise and see no results but keep waiting anyway, the promise has to keep getting bigger. It has to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the other thing the IPO does is make it so members of the public can be materially invested in it keeping on growing. Cult economics.
Any AI in the first place. As the podcaster Rob Whitland pointed out in a careful breakdown of the study,
saying that 95% of them were failing.
This bit makes me nuts because it's just like one AI dude cutting to another AI dude. Like, this is the same man twice, and it makes me a bit nuts because it really looks like it's a cut to a different room in the same house because they have the same like interior decorating approach and also like the identical lighting and almost identical vibes as people. It's such a weird cut.
In a careful breakdown of the study,
saying that 95% of them were failing is like saying 95.
I guess like the TV lines half opacity, like whatever 10th opacity filter that he puts over stuff kind of adds to it, but it just like it really it's just like he's keeping this guy somewhere in his house.
Full breakdown of the study,
saying that 95% of them were failing is like saying 95% of Tinder users have failing marriages when 80% of the people you're talking about have never even gone on a date in the first place.
That's a really bizarre one, right? Like, if this study is saying is using 95% to refer to and sorry, like 80% of the overall had no AI and 95% are failing, but that remaining 15% is 75% of the remaining 20%. That's still a landslide statistic. That's still an overwhelming majority, right? Like, do you see what I mean here? It's a very bizarre nitpick almost to have here against this study. It shows, I think, some degree of emotional, like, dysregulating engagement that Rutger Bregman has probably personally had with this particular, like, statistic.
Failing marriages when 80% of the people you're talking about have never even gone on a date in the first place.
Among the
chat, I'd like to point out that we are 12 minutes into this 33-minute video now.
The companies that actually deployed AI, about a quarter succeeded within 6 months. And the study's own data shows that more than 90% of workers at those companies are using ChatGPT or Claude regularly at work, often multiple times a day. And this should not be surprising at all. If you know how to use it, this technology is already very, very useful, and it will only get more so. But if you don't use it, perhaps because you work at the DNC, which has barred its staffers from using Claude and ChatGPT, then yes, you become particularly prone to misinformation about it. Sure, some AI companies are probably overvalued. And yes, some will fail. I think OpenAI is particularly vulnerable. But here's what the bubble callers keep missing. Even if half of them go bust tomorrow, the infrastructure stays, the data centers stay, the chips, the models, and the capabilities stay. The railway bubbles of the 19th century ruined lots of investors. But they also created a rail network that powered the Industrial Revolution, the tracks which still carry trains today. I actually don't think that this AI build-out is a bubble. But even if it is, remember, bubbles build infrastructure. Bubbles build the future. And a bubble of this magnitude, bursting tomorrow, would still leave us with a civilization permanently reorganized around machine intelligence. So, ever since 2021, the AI skeptics have been moving the goalpost.
Machine intelligence, again, here is just like, we're just using such frustratingly vague terms. I'm going to share one quick thought, and then I need to go to the bathroom, so there'll be a brief break. I've been streaming for nearly 2.5 hours now. please consider paying for the stream if you're enjoying the stream. Another doctoroism, actually. Now I remember where it came from. Another one from Cory Doctorow was him talking about what he described as productive residue, which is a completely valid, I think, economic observation that yes, capitalism functions through bubbles, like I've been saying. Also, whenever those bubbles burst, as Rutger Bregman was just saying, like there is stuff left over when the hype all goes away. And one thing to ponder is the data centers that do get built. Not all of them are getting built. That is, I think, a crucial sticking point here. But the ones that do get built will continue to exist, and they'll continue to be full of servers. And what's happening with that infrastructure? One suggestion is surveillance. That it may be surveillance infrastructure. I'm not sure. I think it's genuinely a big lingering question because some of it will also in part be AI. I think that will continue to be the case. But yeah, I think that's something to think about. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm trying to hit 150 pounds on the Dono bar today, and I'm probably going to be streaming for another half an hour to an hour, depending on how quickly we get through this video, I think, because it's already 11 p.m. here. So if you're enjoying the stream, please do use command tip and donate. If everyone watching gave £2 right now, we would get straight there immediately this second. So remember that small donos make a difference. I will see you in a few minutes. All right, let's do it. It's Dutchman time. No. Okay, let's carry on with this. Oy. Honestly, like, what a take this video is. I like. If anyone was already familiar with this, I hope that you've had a look at his comments, because like people are everyone disliked that. Genuinely, like, such a bad, like, such a. I don't even want to just call this video like a bad take, because that doesn't do it justice, right? Like, this is many bad takes quite densely crammed in together into the one video. Impressive, really. You know, maybe that's one of the advancements of AI. It can have bad takes faster. Here we go.
First it was, it's just a spicy autocomplete machine, a stochastic parrot, a word guessing program. Then it became, fine, it can mimic, but it'll never reason. Then they said, okay, it can pass the test, but no serious business is using it. Then, all right, businesses are using it, but the economics don't add up. It's one big bubble. And then,
I really need to point out something there.
all right, businesses are using it. Okay, it can pass the test, but no. It can mimic, but it'll never reason.
It can mimic, but it'll never reason. Again, we're not differentiating the kinds of technologies that are all being described under the umbrella of AI together at the moment, which is like quite a misstep, I think. But like, this move here goes from it can mimic but it'll never reason to the next step is, fine, it can pass the tests. And it can pass the tests, and it can pass the test is not actually an answer to it will never reason. Like, that's just not the same thing. Fodrella says, overview, is AI profitable yet? Oh, you can't quite see it. Let me just move. There we go. Yeah, no. It's so fucking dire. It's so fucking dire. Oh my god. Million Peaches saying, what tests? Ah! No, it's impressively bad take from Rutger Bregman here. I mean, I knew he was a long-term, like, he is a long-term legacy bad take haver, and exactly the kind to like build in a lot of like confidence based on having researched and like thought really hard about this topic, that brings this kind of particular brand of like lib smugness. But like, oh boy, it's a doozy, this one. Okay, chat, I'm gonna try to be like wrapping up in the next half an hour, so I'm gonna try and get through this video and not linger on it too much, but it will definitely not be more than another hour. Please do donate if you're enjoying the stream.
Then they said, okay, it can pass the test, but no serious business.
Oh shit, that was what sorry, the thing that reminded me was that someone donated while I was away, and I should have said that first. Middle-earth Marxist, thank you so much for the £2 donation with the message, I sure hope those leftover data centers are warm enough.
Is using it. Then, all right, businesses are using it, but the economics don't add up. It's one big bubble. And then,
I don't think anyone was saying businesses wouldn't use it. Like, I genuinely, like, it was incredibly obvious from the beginning this is the kind of thing that capitalists would fucking love. It's exactly their kind of bullshit.
Then, fine, the revenue is real, but, and this whole...
The revenue is real. The revenue is real. What?
Fine, the revenue is real, but...
Good night, Lorcan. Thank you for hanging out. It's been really nice to have you here.
And this whole time, the line kept climbing. Just like Al Gore's line of CO2 emissions, except this one is climbing much faster, and we have much less time to prepare. Let me be clear. I think there's a real chance that the next 5 to 10 years are going to be some of the wildest in the history of humanity. Because here's what the people building this technology, the same people who have proven the skeptics wrong again and again, are now telling us. They think AI may soon start to build more powerful AI by itself. Jack Clark, one of the co-founders of Anthropic, recently called this crossing a Rubicon into a nearly impossible to forecast future.
Million Features, thank you so much for the £5 donation with the message, I can't stand this man. Ah! You see, Your Honor, the line goes up. I rest my case. It's so irritating. The CEO of Anthropic is the guy he's citing here, and just to like spoiler a little bit, he's about to say, but that's not all. Also, AI experts are saying stuff too, and it's just like, yeah, dude, the guys who stake their reputation on AI. Like,
he thinks there's a 60% chance it happens by 2028. Now, I get the obvious objection. Of course, an AI executive predicts explosive growth. Scary stories sell models and lift valuations. Fair point. But you don't have to take Clark's word for it. Independent academics, people with no equity in this race.
Yoshua Bengio, deep learning pioneer. What was that? Independent academics, people with no.
Don't have to take Clark's word for it. Independent academics.
Independent academics.
People with no equity.
People with no equity in this race. Oh my god, I cannot keep up with how fast these goalposts are moving. Holy shit. Deep learning pioneer.
In this race have been revised.
Jeffrey Hinton. Godfather of AI. Ah! What? Jeffrey Hinton, godfather of AI here, is being listed as an independent academic and someone with no equity in this race? What? It's too much, dude. Like, it's genuinely... What?
Their estimates forward.
Stuart Russell, AI safety researcher. Dude, come on, please. Get serious for like a second, please. Please.
The salespeople and the experts are converging. That's the part that should worry you. Right now, every step forward still requires humans. But the moment AI does that work itself, the bottleneck is gone. Years become months, months become weeks, and each generation of AI builds the next faster than the last. The flywheel starts spinning itself. One evening last summer, a microbiologist named David Relman was hired by one of the lead.
Before we get into the risks section, I feel like it's worth a little detour over here. I know this will help me up, and it's almost been 3 hours already, but I think there is a much more mild version of this video that's worth making, right? Where you're talking about how people on the left do often give into like thought-terminating cliches about AI and some degree of wishful thinking. Like, it's just going to go away. Like, it's just going to stop existing and disappear entirely. Again, I've talked about the criteria that I think you would need to use to have like a worthwhile at all take on AI, and he fails all three of them spectacularly. But where he was getting up to just at the end of that last section, and where he's going to go next with the risks section at the end of the video, I think shows that he is buying into something akin to Rocco's Basilisk or Pascal's Wager about AI and the world it's creating. Because not only is he going to talk about specific big risks that are being posed from like the possibility of individual actors having enhanced competence, which when we talk about them, they come out a little bit silly. But sorry, I just remember the level of like over dramatic seriousness he does all of this with. It's really irritating. He's so pompous. Anyway, he's talking about a world getting completely captured by AI, and this is the commonality here with earlier with that Gen Z socialism article. The Economist was claiming that like a very serious concern among Gen Z socialists is that AI is about to like take all the wealth, and it's like there is a serious problem of like kleptocracy across the imperial core right now. The ruling classes, where they are far right and they're getting into power, they are just slopping up all the remaining wealth in the society, like accelerating rather than managing the decline of imperial powers, the decline of the wealthier nations that have historically been the wealthier nations on the world stage today, right? They are effectively packing up the whole economy and going home with it. That's absolutely like an acceleration of the extraction of wealth from our societies right now by the far right and by billionaires and by the coalition between them is a really pronounced thing right now. And I don't think that Gen Z socialists think it's AI. I think that the economists think that it's AI doing that. And I think that Rutger Bregman is buying into that too, because he's just gotten wowed by it, you know? He just believes it. He believes the hype too much. He's huffed Sam Altman's farts too hard, and he believes as well that AI is that thing rather than AI being a set of technological innovations that have been made which are changing some industries. The hype around it is being used to disguise this like smash and grab looting kleptocracy. That's my take. Okay, let's get into the risks bit. Once again, everyone, remember that I'm doing a job right now and that you can pay me by subscribing to the Twitch channel or by cheering or by donating using command tip towards this goal, 150. And if you're a VOD viewer, there are links down below that you can give me money through as well. This next section... This next section is going to do some more of his very bizarre, flat, almost mathematical, like... The moon landing cost this much. The moon landing involved this much work according to like this particular very narrow metric. AI is this much and cost this much. Therefore, AI is 17,000 times more powerful and significant in history than the moon landing. And it's just like... Okay.
One evening last summer, a microbiologist named David Relman was hired by one of the leading AI companies, we don't know which one, to pressure test a chatbot before its public release. Relman is a biosecurity expert at Stanford University. He has advised the US government on biological threats for years. That night, in his home office, the chatbot explained to him how to modify a pathogen so that it would resist known treatments. Then it described how to release the superbug. It identified a real security vulnerability in a real public transit system, and it explained how to maximize casualties and minimize the chances of getting caught. Relman had seen a lot in his career.
Valerie the Lovely Italian says it's very our pool is bigger than skyscrapers. It actually is. That's a very, very good comparison actually.
But now he was so shaken that he had to take a walk to clear his head. He later told the New York Times that the bot answered questions he hadn't even thought to ask with a deviousness and cunning he found chilling. Some skeptics, when they hear this, say, but you can already Google this stuff. A chatbot doesn't really change anything. Well, let me give you 3 data points. 1. A study published last year tested leading chatbots against PhD virologists on detailed laboratory protocols in their own field. ChatGPT outperformed 94% of them.
Thank you so much, Lil Toasty, for the £10 donation with the message, for your extremely correct AI take. I've been having so many extremely correct AI takes this whole time for the last 3 hours. You might have to... but no, thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the £10 donation. Everyone, please remember, small donations matter too. And if everybody watching gave just a little bit, it would get us there. Okay, let's carry on with this.
In November of last year, the police in India arrested a 35-year-old physician. He was plotting an attack on behalf of the Islamic State and trying to extract ricin, a lethal toxin, from castor beans. According to the police, the doctor had been getting advice on his preparations from ChatGPT. 3.
Good night, Artist Synth. Lovely to have you here. It said it could do that, but would its plan work? Absolutely not. Yes. This is the nature of this bit he's doing right now. Basically, like, I try not to be like excessively like play the role of the like woke like nag of people on my streams, but at the same time, like, I volunteer with a harm reduction hub and the work with drug users. Can we try to avoid using like a term like crackhead as an insult, because it's not like why, like, it's one of the most unexamined and most commonplace forms of, and also like quite extreme forms of punching down, like people who are in the very serious throes of like some of the worst harms of drug use, who are dependent drug users. Like, it's, you know, like, they're not people who are having a good time, and they're not powerful people. But yeah, no, this whole section is just so much like, when we think about the feasibility of what he's describing, like whether the people who are relying on the information we're talking about will be meaningfully helped, right? Because a lot of the people who are taking advice from ChatGPT and committing any form of violence against other people, the overwhelming majority of cases where it's like someone attacks a family member in a very mundane, violent kind of way, like hitting them with something, after talking to ChatGPT, and it's horrible, and it's a very serious concern about the product and its safety around people who have poor mental health, and also like it didn't empower them to do something particularly, you know, and like this is talking about a guy who got arrested, right? Like, so I'm not saying there's nothing there, but at the same time, like, it's the same flattening again and again and again, flattening of everything he's discussing at the same time that he like looks in the camera with a really like smoldering expression, and he tells you it all because it's really serious. Now it's 12 hours. Now it's $100 trillion. And it's just like, it's so pompous and so wrong, so confidently, arrogantly wrong. It's very aggravating to watch.
From ChatGPT. 3. Fanatics with the will to kill millions of people are not hypothetical. As a historian, I can tell you, these people exist.
Really fucking bizarre level of condescension here, though, right? Like, fanatics with the will to kill millions of people are not hypothetical. As a historian, I can tell you these people exist. What, dude? Like, as a person who hasn't been living under a rock, I can tell you these people exist. Like, it's actually not something that you really need to qualify, and it comes off really bizarrely condescending and patronizing to do so. Million features to say, why did he say that, lol? Yeah, exactly. Princess Back 9666 says, and notably, no large-scale terrorist attacks have ever been carried out with ricin before ChatGPT. It's just like, people who are ideologically committed to doing some kind of horrible violence against a bunch of people, and people who are well, and people who have certain planning capabilities and like strengths and skills. There's a particular set of overlaps, as well as the circumstances and weird quirks of coincidence and fate, that make some kind of large-scale terrorist attack happen. And again, I'm going to say, I don't think there's nothing there, but like, Only historians know about the little-known guy, Adolf Hitler, yeah.
Let me give you the canonical example from biosecurity. In the 1990s, a Japanese doomsday cult tried to do exactly what the AI safety people are warning about today. The cult recruited from Japan's top universities. One of its scientists was a graduate student in virology at Kyoto. They believed the apocalypse was imminent and that killing non-believers was a way of saving them. They sent expeditions to Africa hunting for Ebola and built a $30 million laboratory at the foot of Mount Fuji to mass-produce sarin nerve gas, thousands of kilograms a year, on something close to a battlefield scale. And on a Monday morning in March 1995, during...
Okay. Chatters who have never heard of this attack. Who have never heard of the sarin gas attack. Om Shinrikyo, right? I'm not making that up. Anyway. Chatters who have never heard of this. He just said they were manufacturing thousands of kilograms of this stuff. How much do you think they used in this attack? I'm going to give people a second to write in their answers. He said thousands of kilograms a year they were producing. How much do you think they used in this attack? And follow-up question, what might we be able to determine about the feasibility of attacks like this and how they work from a difference between, say, thousands of kilograms a year and probably overall less than 1 kilogram? Like a relatively, compared to the amount they were making, an incredibly small amount.
Tokyo rush hour, 5 of their members boarded 5 different subway trains carrying plastic bags filled with liquid sarin and punctured the bags with the tips of their umbrellas. Hundreds of commuters were soon gasping for air on the platforms. 12 people died. It was only 12 because sarin is a chemical agent. It doesn't spread from one person to the next. A virus would have. In 1995...
So before we go into the bioterrorism, Resident Evil fanfiction shit, like, if they were making if they had the capacity to make thousands of kilograms a year, and then their attack instead was this, and then they got, captured, shut down, like, do we see the difference between, like, the hypothetical and the execution when it comes to matters of, like, terrorism, when it comes to these kinds of fanatical forms of violence?
That cult, wealthy, scientifically literate, fanatical, and willing to die for the cause, could not get...
Damn, dude, it's so lucky that people aren't more susceptible to cult-like thinking or thought-terminating cliches or cognitive fucking surrender now. It's really lucky that there isn't anything in our lives today that encourages us to have less critical thinking skills and be more susceptible to things like cults. Isn't it, Rutger? Isn't that just fucking great?
Hold of Ebola. Today, they could order the DNA sequences online, and a chatbot would walk them through with what to do with it. Now, I want to be clear. Biology is just one of the many dangers. There is so much more. In April of this year, the UK government's AI security...
We'll get to this in a second. Let's just linger on this for a second. The bioterrorism angle, I just called it Resident Evil fanfiction. It's going to be egg on my face and so many pancakes on my knees. If I have to go back on this, if something terrible happens here, I do not think someone is going to do a bioterrorism attack successfully with instructions they got from ChatGPT. There you go. I've said now. That's my locked in prediction. I really just don't actually think that's gonna be it.
Institute released their assessments of 2 new AI systems, Anthropic's Mythos and OpenAI's GPT 5.5.
I might be commentating slightly less from this point to the rest of the video because we've just hit 3 hours and it's also like 11:30 at night here. So I want to get through the rest of this relatively quickly. But also, we just hit 3 hours. So if you're enjoying the stream, please do pay for the stream. I am quite poor and I need money, so please do donate. Okay.
Both could now find and exploit critical security vulnerabilities in the computers and systems that hold the modern world together. Power grids, water systems, government databases. Anthropic's response was striking. They decided not to release Mythos to the public.
He again, by the way, here is not talking about the vulnerabilities that AI creates in existing technologies, the very vital like web security stuff, and just generally like security like flaws in software created by AI. That he would understand if he had basic technological literacy. It's one of the worst things that AI has done to culture is like turn a bunch of guys into what they think of themselves as like tech bro. They think they're like like really techie now, and they've been given the ability to be a tech guy without having to learn about tech. And they say stupid shit like this because of it.
At all. Instead, they limited access to a small group of cyber defenders to give the good guys a head start on what was coming. Yes, a private company with billions of dollars to be made and with no regulator forcing its hand concluded that one of its own products was so dangerous it should not be sold to the general public. There is no regulator. There is no law. There was simply a moment of conscience inside the company. And I'm glad that conscience exists. But conscience is not a policy. And that brings us to the deepest risk of all. Power. 2 countries are leading this race, the United States and China. Inside those countries, a handful of corporations are building the most powerful tools in the history of our species. The people who own those companies are about to acquire
He just writes like such an asshole. sorry. But he just writes like such an asshole. Sorry. Okay, let's...
kind of leverage that I don't think we have the words for yet. So let's look for an analogy. Political scientists have a name for what happens to countries that strike oil. They call it the resource curse.
Has anyone heard of the resource curse before? This is going to be quite funny.
You'd think a fortune buried in the ground would be a blessing, and sometimes it is. Norway managed it well, Alaska managed it well, but more often...
Whoa, Norway and Alaska managed it well, huh?
The wealth flows in and democracy flows out. Think about Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, Russia.
Damn, dude. So what happened in those countries? I guess we're really lucky that we have a historian here telling us. It's so dire, dude. Like, this sucks so bad. Genuinely, like, shockingly dumb stuff here. Like, I appreciate that Rutger Bregman has a degree of, like, STEM dumbass brain, I guess I'll call it. Like, where you try to apply a mathematical, like, logic where it isn't really very appropriate. It's like it's like when people try to do, like, modern forms of like ethical utilitarianism that try to use almost literal like equations of like morality or whatever. They don't understand that within the world of philosophy, what they are doing with their math is bad math. And if they did, they would be very embarrassed because they're mathematicians. In Rutger Bregman's case, though, he's not even a mathematician. He just really likes slogan-esque like rules of history and economics that can just be applied as this is the hard rule, this is the resource curse or whatever. It's pretty fucking dire. But just like for someone who describes himself as a historian to not talk about any of the context in any of those examples that he's just listed, or think about why. Why those outcomes might have been different for those countries.
The pattern is pretty consistent. Why does this happen? It comes down to a fact about how democracies were built. We like to think they were born from grand ideas from a few very smart founding fathers, but the real engine was more boring.
Do we? That's crazy, dude. Because I'm British and you're Dutch, and you just said that we like to think that democracy was created by a few founding fathers with grand ideas. And like I know that American cultural hegemony and like cultural imperialism is a powerful force, but like do we really have to just like cosplay like we're all just in America all the time? Like I just finished a big essay about Ezra Klein that is entirely about like American politics. Again, I appreciate that like American cultural hegemony is yeah, it's a powerful force, but like no, I don't think I I don't think that democracy was invented by fucking Thomas Jefferson. That would be a bizarre thing for me to think.
It was tax collection. Rulers have always needed money. They needed it to fight wars, to build roads, to put down rebellions, and the only place to get it was from their subjects. So as the economy started growing and people started producing more wealth, the rulers had to bargain. You want my coins? Then I want a voice. You want my son in your army? Then I want a vote. That is the fiscal bargain at the heart of every free society. No taxation without representation. But also, no representation without taxation.
I hate his voice. I hate his face. Sorry, I I know that's not productive. He just really bugs me. No, but like the what he's just told us here is that we all have a silly and naive, simplistic model of how democracy came to exist. That it was like implemented by great men of history, and he is telling us now that actually it was implemented by this deal between the ruling class and the working class. But this itself is a simplistic and naive like model of how it works too. Do we not see that? Like, you want my son in your army, I should get a vote. Like, have there been no societies where there is like far from universal suffrage and there are still armies? Like, this is skimming so much. There is even more truth to this argument he's making that you could unpack, that he is just skimming over here with this very reductive way of laying things out. But along the way, like, no, this is silly. Like, this is silly. Like, the history of democracy is an incredibly complicated one, and it isn't one entirely of the ruling class throwing the working class scraps. Like, that's just like...
Rulers needed us. They needed our money, our labor, our consent. That need is the foundation of every right we have. Now, imagine a country where the ruler doesn't need any of that, where the wealth comes out of the ground, gets shipped abroad, and the dollars come back to fund the palace and the secret police. The citizens become a nuisance. Why educate them? Why listen to them at all? That is the resource curse. And I am afraid that we may face something bigger. The researchers Luke Drago and Rudolf Lane have called it the intelligence curse. Because if the machines do the work, if they write the code, draft the contracts, drive the trucks, diagnose the patients, fight the wars, then the people who own the machines no longer need the rest of us. Not as workers, not as soldiers, not as taxpayers.
See what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying about him buying into, and it's like Rocco's Basilisk or Pascal's Wager, like, this thing is coming that is almost unstoppably huge, so you have to, like, get on board with what's happening here in order to have a say in it at all. And it's just like, if that's the world they're building, these people need to be met with, like, limitless violence. Like, like, if if you're right that there is a real possibility of these people building this sort of like hyper-controlled society mediated through AI, they need to be just met with limitless violence, and you've actually like massively hardened my resolve in terms of like the data center must burn. Like the conclusion the conclusion that like there is going to be this massive reshaping of society because of AI that is going to like enslave masses of people essentially. That's a conclusion that says the data center must burn.
Even as voters, the fiscal bargain that built every democracy on Earth could very well dissolve. Just listen to the way Sam Altman of OpenAI talks about how inefficient he thinks humans are compared to robots.
People talk about how much energy it takes to train an AI model, but it also takes a lot of energy to train a human. It takes like 20 years of life and all of the food you eat during that time before you get smart.
Or listen to venture capitalist Peter Thiel when he's asked whether we still need humans in the future.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit
Should
in this.
the human race survive?
Yes.
Okay.
But
now, we don't need to assume AI takes over everything. There's a huge amount of uncertainty here. But even if it substitutes for a meaningful fraction of what humans currently do, not all, just a fraction, the fiscal bargain weakens. And remember, we already have the most extreme concentration of wealth in history. In 1910, at the peak of the Gilded Age, the richest 0.00001% of US households owned wealth equivalent to 4% of national income. Today, that figure is 12%. America's super rich are already richer and more powerful than the original robber barons ever were. And AI...
Again, you're just selling me on the idea that these people should be met with limitless violence. Sorry, it's just like, it's... I think he's making a persuasive case around to a certain point of view. It's just not his point of view. It's like the one he set out to oppose.
Is about to make it much, much worse. Because the labs building this technology are owned by a tiny group of people, a few early investors who stand to capture more of the world's wealth than any class of owners who ever lived.
Then why is America declining and China poised to completely overtake it with a significantly downplayed comparative focus on AI? If AI is this... You see what I mean about needing to like differentiate the types of technologies being referred to as AI and differentiate between industry tools and the slop machine, because the slop machine is a system of control being used by the American ruling class and an economic engine that they're throwing money through so that their complete detachment from reality and from what is going on for ordinary people can persist. And it's still not making their country like good or or their military able to conquer, pardon me, their enemies such as Iran, let alone China. Like,
so what do we do? Let me start with what we should not do. There is a temptation to look at all of this and conclude, shut it down, pull the plug, bring in the Luddites, smash the machines. And I get the impulse. When you stack up the scale of the risk, the disregard for democracy, the hubris of the people in charge, the cleanest response feels like a moratorium. Just say no. It is, I think, the wrong answer. And the reason is brutally simple. It doesn't work. Stop the data centers in California and they get built in Texas. Stop them in Texas and they get built in Abu Dhabi. Stop them in democracies, the places with civil liberties, with...
Chat. You've just seen him say, Stop the data centers in California. They're going to get built in Texas. Stop them in Texas. They'll get built in Abu Dhabi. He's about to show the worst case scenario for human freedom and prosperity. Lock in some guesses now, chat, as to where the data centers will get built. Where the final location on the map is he's about to show. Again, this all is glossing over like the realities of where data centers can be built and like the specific needs they have and the yeah, chat, you got it right. And think they're like the real existing plans include like the Reno data center, right? Is a really good example. The Reno data center is this enormous one that's going to it's just over in what Reno is over the border into Nevada, isn't it? But it's going to be like the primary like data center for Silicon Valley, and it's this enormous complex they have proposed, and it's such a very specific drain on like the West Coast electrical grid, and saying like if we stop this one, it will get built in Texas instead. Well, will it? Like that particular one, right? Like that one serving like Palo Alto, like serving Silicon Valley or whatever, like is specifically close to it. If people successfully stopped that one being built and successfully stopped the Silicon Valley perverts from making their data center in their own backyard, it would be a meaningfully different proposition for it to get built elsewhere. Like if Silicon Valley that exists within it like has done remarkable work at just inventing fascism from first principles. Bear thee well, welcome to the stream, lovely to have you here. If they all jumped onto Elon Musk's bandwagon and just became like entirely openly fash, and they all relocated to Texas, and they were all just like completely hated by the public, and known as being like fascist enemies of humanity, the world would be significantly different, right? Like, so this sort of cascading logic of like, if they don't get built in California, they'll get built in Texas. If they don't get built in Texas, they get built in Abu Dhabi. And if they don't get built in Abu Dhabi,
judicial review, with a free press, with worker protections, and you hand the future to autocracies.
And here's the autocracy. It sucks so bad what you're doing here, dude. The logic just isn't actually quite as clean as that. Like, is my point. It's just that there's complex forces at play.
My point is not, absolutely not, that we have to let AI rip. My point is that abandoning the field is not the same as stopping the technology. This is the left's version of climate denial, refusing to engage seriously on the assumption that if we just shout no loudly enough, the future will go away. It won't. So, what does work? 3 things at minimum. 1, state capacity. We need way more AI expertise and talent inside the government. The UK was early on this. They built an AI Security Institute, a serious arm of the state that actually evaluates frontier models, the way the FDA evaluates new drugs. I think every serious country needs a well-funded institute like that. 2, international coordination. We've been there before. In 1949, the United States and the Soviet Union both had nuclear weapons, and humanity briefly looked extinction in the eye. Out of that came treaties. Imperfect, yes, but they bought us decades of survival. We need something equivalent for AI. 3, the free world has to build. The US, with its increasingly fascist government, currently owns 74%.
So he's just called the UK, like, he's just basically outlined the UK as being his go-to example of a serious and sensible country. That's cool. Um, but also, like, regulatory capture is a problem. Is a complicated problem here, right? Like, when I made my AI video, I was making a point of how the AI guys, Sam Altman had been invited to testify to Congress. And obviously he wasn't invited completely on his own, but basically everyone who has bought into the AI hype is being taken as the expert on AI in a way that primarily empowers people who are into AI to dictate what happens with AI. And so, yeah, right, there's an argument from that perspective to be made that people who are anti-AI should get involved in the AI question to meaningfully regulate against it. But then those people need to be meaningfully involved in the conversation to regulate against the kind of insane waste of everyone's time and money and harms being done that will inevitably collapse, leaving behind so many more harms we can't even properly predict right now, rather than trying to legislate and protect against Elisa Yudkowsky and fucking Mencius Moldbugs, completely absurd imaginary world that the people seem to somehow believe is being built by Doge and Trump now. It's just like, there is a fantasy world these people are living in, and we have to respond to some real things. Unfortunately, Rutger has gotten entirely sucked into the fantasy world here, and so isn't able to like advise people well. And also, like I say as well, it's so many of these people just don't have the tech literacy to be commenting on this stuff.
Of the world's compute.
Chat, we're nearly at the end of the video, and we're also really nearly at the end of the stream. I've been streaming for over 3 hours now. Today, after a very long day, I started out pretty tired. I'm absolutely exhausted, and I can't wait to have dinner after this. Please, if you've been enjoying the stream, consider paying for the stream. You can subscribe or share or donate directly using Command Tip. Thank you.
China has 14%, Europe less than 7%, and all other countries combined less than 5%. I'm really worried about the middle powers and Europe in particular. So far, Europe has been pretty good at regulating AI, but terrible at building it. In fact, all the American giants, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Nvidia, Alphabet, are individually worth more than the entire German or French stock market. Now, Europe does have more leverage than it often thinks. The company ASML, for example, is less than an hour from where I am right now in the Netherlands. It makes the lithography machines without which TSMC in Taiwan cannot fabricate the chips, without which Anthropic and OpenAI cannot train their models. The democratic countries working together still control significant choke points in this supply chain. That is real power. But my fellow progressives in Europe really need to understand that our welfare state, our way of life, is at stake. Just think it through. If AI does much of the work, but the profits flow to a handful of American giants that we barely tax, while European workers lose their jobs, then the tax base that funds our healthcare, our pensions, our unemployment insurance just evaporates. There's one thing I cannot emphasize enough. Democratic, liberal, and humanitarian values are wonderful, but they are worthless if you don't have the strength to back them up. And in this new world, compute is the new power. So no more NIMBYism. We need massive investments and fast permitting of data centers to keep up, or we will be digitally colonized.
This is such sicko shit. I really hate, like, no more NIMBYism. Not just a patronizing thing to say, but a very specific kind of like condescending, patronizing perspective that I've been saying since the very beginning of doing liberal slop streams at all, is very common of this kind of thinker, this kind of like public intellectual style political influencer, because they are taking on the point of view of the ruling class implicitly. And this happens so often to guys who like Rutger Bregman has very clearly just always been inside of a certain class environment, a certain milieu, right? And had some good intentions at some point and decided to be a leftist for a little bit, right? Utopia for realists, perfect fucking example, right? Like, I'm a serious historian and economist, and I'm going to write about utopia, but not like those silly utopians do. I'm going to write about utopia for realists. Taking on the viewpoint implicitly of the ruling class and talking about like what politicians should do, how nations should act, it just cuts off so much empathy for the working class so quickly that allows you to very calmly say things like no more NIMBYism. But the real effects of like of this kind of construction on local communities is absolutely devastating, like inconceivably fucking evil. And this guy is telling you, don't be a NIMBY.
Anyone who's not at the table will be on the menu. Now, none of this works. None of it without a positive vision. And this, I think, is where liberals and the left have failed most badly. 12 years ago, I wrote a book called Utopia for Realists. I complained that the left mainly knew what it was against austerity, against the establishment, against homophobia, against racism, against billionaires, but it lacked a positive vision of where it wanted to go. My argument was that we should stop being so timid in our political imagination. I argued for a universal basic income, for the complete eradication of poverty, and I argued for a goal that the brilliant economist John Maynard Keynes laid out almost a century ago in 1930, the 15-hour workweek. Keynes thought it was inevitable. He looked at the trajectory of productivity growth and concluded that by 2030, his grandchildren would be working a quarter as much as he did because the machines would be doing the rest.
Middle-earth Marx is making a really good comparison here, that he equates communities being literally choked by LNG power plants with the homeowners association saying anything above 3 stories ruins their views. Yeah, abso-fucking-lutely. I'll say, like, as someone in the midst of a NIMBY-ish battle for the last few months, like, construction in existing communities where people have their lives and, like, their everyday lives are dependent on things that currently exist, and then proposing changing what currently exists is actually an incredibly thorny topic just to begin with, and I have some sympathy even for some of the most entitled and like privileged NIMBYs. Like but like when it comes to like I was showing some of my neighbors the content that Zoe Bread has been making. If you don't know Zoe Bread, you should definitely look up Zoe Bread. Zoe Bread, fantastic content creator, fearsome campaigner, genuinely like really like fun to watch and also quite inspiring. And she's made her focus recently the mega warehouses in Wigan. If you don't know anything about this, again, you're in for a treat, so just go look it up. But like, I was showing some of my neighbors this because it's like the planning that has been rushed through with seemingly the help of Wigan Council, like is devastating to the people there, and I think that's one of the most comparable things I've seen in like my context to the mega data centers that are going to be created in America or are planned to be created or whatever. In terms of shit like, I don't know, you make buildings on this scale for these like industrial uses without proper surveying, you can very easily end up doing things like making there be floods in local communities that you didn't expect there to be. You just didn't think about it. You just didn't do the proper surveying, so it's just happening now. Like streets are flooded where their children play. You don't do the proper like consideration and allow people to comment or complain, and you have like lights lighting up the area that are so loud that there's just an electrical hum literally 24/7, like absolutely driving people insane. Like, no more NIMBYism. Fuck yourself, Rutger. Like, I'm sorry, but it's just genuinely like so ugly to just be going like no more NIMBYism. Like I'm doing the tough grown up politics.
And the strange thing is, he was right about productivity, but he was wrong about who would benefit. The 15-hour workweek was technically achievable by the 1980s, but it didn't happen because the productivity gains were captured by capital, shareholders, and a rentier class. So wages stagnated, hours rose, and inequality exploded. If we let AI play out the same way, this is what we'll get: a handful of trillionaires who will own the tools that do most of the world's productive labor. Everyone else will be redundant. Not in the dignified, retire early and take up gardening sense, but in the cruel, anxious, gig economy sense. Universal poverty.
I don't see why those people would not revolt as hard as possible. Do you not see what I mean? Like, if do you really think that world is like viable to exist more than 5 minutes without everyone immediately going, oh well, fuck those guys, and just like we're actually all, I think, like we've long since passed a point where everyone's needs being met was just obviously very achievable.
In a world of unimaginable abundance. And yet I believe there is another path. The path some of the greatest thinkers actually promised us. Benjamin Franklin predicted that 4 hours of work a day would eventually be enough. John Stuart Mill thought technology should be used to shorten the work week as much as possible. Karl Marx imagined a world where we could hunt in the morning, fish in the afternoon, and discuss philosophy after dinner.
Damn, that's crazy. Was Karl Marx talking about that being caused by automation? No, he was talking about a change in labor relations. Oh, fucking Jiminy Christmas. He was talking about people collectivizing and organizing together as the working class and overthrowing the ruling class. Whoa, criminy cripes. Come on, dude. Just come the fuck on. Like, how fucking lazy and cheap. Like, I'm sorry, but like, come the fuck on.
Morning, fish in the afternoon, and discuss philosophy after dinner. And Oscar Wilde looked forward to the day when intelligent machines would become, in his words, the property of all. The whole point of building the most productive economy in history was that we would no longer have to spend our lives chained to bosses we hated, doing work that bored us just to put food on the table. So I think we should demand much more than just AI safety. We should demand AI abundance, AI that's built to help us flourish. That dream, the real dream of modernity, is finally within reach. Universal basic wealth.
Because the app says so. That dream is finally within reach because the app says so. No, dude, sorry. I'm sorry. This is gonna make me insane. I'm sorry if I'm raising my voice like here. It's just genuinely really getting to me. Like, it is only organizing that makes a difference here. It is only organizing, and the organizing being around fucking AI is so unhinged and so up your own ass. Like, fuck off with this. This is so obnoxious.
Every citizen with an automatic stake in the productive infrastructure of their society. Full unemployment in the original meaning of that phrase. Freedom from forced labor. The 0-hour work week. Finally. That was the promise. But
if we had the negotiating power to ask for that, just like with UBI, like, if we have the negotiating power to ask for that, we have the negotiating power for full communism already, right? It is organizing that makes the difference.
None of it happens automatically. A century ago, the 8-hour workday was not...
This is so I'm very tired. It's quite late here, but I'm also like, this is so asinine.
Given to us, we took it from the robber barons. We claimed it as our right.
By organizing.
20 years ago, Al Gore stood on his scissor lift and showed us a line that went off the chart. He was right. The world he warned us about did arrive. But the political response was so weak, so late, so half-hearted that we are now living with the consequences. And we are about to make the same mistake. Perhaps even worse, because the timeline is shorter. In 2005, climate denial was a problem of the right and the left rolled its eyes. In 2026, AI denial is a problem of the left, and the oligarchs are laughing. So I want to be very direct, especially with the people who think of themselves as my political family.
Don't worry, everyone, we're off the hook.
Stop the denial. Stop pretending this is hype. Stop calling it a lumbering, stochastic, pattern-matching parrot. Wake up and pay attention. Vote for politicians who aren't in the pockets of big tech. Build state capacity. Push your governments into international coalitions that actually have leverage. Demand transparency. Demand safety standards. Demand a share of the wealth.
That's right, everyone. Get out there and vote. It's so aggravating. Prince Infidel says, once again, Sophie warns us that this will anger us because it's something that angers her. Yes, you got me once again. That's exactly spot on. But to be fair, I knew it with this one because Rutger Bregman has always just made me absolutely hopping mad. Like I despise this guy. He's so dumb, and he's so confidently and smugly dumb. It's so annoying.
And dare to fight for a wildly better future.
There you go. There's the video. We did it, everyone. Yay! We made it through, and it's after midnight now, and I'm so tired. I'm gonna go to bed now. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I will be back starting at an earlier time next week, and I hope you all have a lovely week in the meantime. VOD watchers, I'm looking forward to reading all your lovely comments. Please check out the links down below the VOD watchers and consider supporting me. And check out my Patreon as well, because there's a couple of different things going on over there. Update about my landlord stuff, like a full write-up of the stuff. They'll probably put more updates on there as time goes on. My Ezra Klein script, my Terra Nil script, my Monster Men script, when that is done, will go up there. The other two are already done. The videos, when they're done, which I'm going to film them as a block, will all go up on there. Check out my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Sophie from Mars. We're going to raid into Donkus Jonkus. So, everybody, get ready with your favorite animal noises. And let's go make them in DJ Mule's gaming streams chat. Okay. Good night, everyone. It's been lovely to have you here. See you all on Sunday for Red Planet. Remember to check out Red Planet. Okay, here we go. Wow.